for college basketball. It really is. You look at other teams like Houston. How about Houston able to go up against BYU by 20-plus points? It's incredible. It really is. They look like a team of destiny as well. Oh, look at you, KP, coming in here. So we're streaming on YouTube now? That's fine. My man, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that. Team effort around here. Number to get aboard, Dave. Look at you. Thank you, brother. You do everything around here. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Number to get aboard, 855-212-4227, doing a dance on the side like that. Listen, that's what you get on the Good Shepherd. Greg Frank, this is a live show, man, on YouTube. How do you like that?
It sure is. Good to be aboard. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother. So, look, obviously we're going to lead with college basketball, and that's the main topic of conversation. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up someone who I felt like covered this sport better than anybody. And that is, of course, now the late, great John Feinstein. To me, this is a huge loss for not just our Infinity Network sports family, but sports in general. He was a giant. He was an immense talent. He was somebody that had an opinion on everything. And, you know, I'm very fortunate because as I adjust this chair, there we go. I'm very fortunate because when I began here back in 2013, in the first year of our existence, we were CBS Sports Radio at the time. And John would, you know, he wasn't in New York City often. I believe he did a show from Washington, D.C., and Andrew Bogish would sit here and be like that second voice on the show. And then Max Herman, who did a wonderful job producing it. But when John did come to New York City headquarters, I always found myself wanting to pick his brain on not just college sports, not just college basketball, but everything, because he wrote about everything. He covered everything. And he was never short on opinions, and he was never short on his time. You hear the word difficult being described with John Feinstein. I never got that. I always interacted with somebody who was generous with his wisdom, never treated me with any disrespect. I was a weekend producer. That's how I started here at CBS Sports Radio, obviously then becoming Infinity Sports Network. He didn't have to be nice to me. He was anyway. So I hope the talent of John Feinstein, when you talk about the season on the brink, one of the all-time great, not just sports books, but I think just books in general. I mean, that took you in depth looking at the 1985-86 season of Bobby Knight in a way that we've never seen from any major character, not just in sports, but in entertainment. Did they do that like about the movie with Clark Gable on Gone with the Wind? Did they do that with, Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot? No. This was like the first time you ever saw someone who is the top of their profession, which Bob Knight was in the 1980s, and you got such a precise, in-depth look of everything that made Bob Knight tick, and what was brought to life only happened because of John Feinstein's immeasurable impact on sports writing, because no one covered sports like John. He got to the nitty-gritty of everything, and he always had an opinion. And that is what made John Feinstein so special. He was able to ultimately translate that to a career in radio. And he was one of the founding members of Infinity Sports Network. And that was a great lineup. That was an all-time great lineup. We got an all-time great lineup in 2025. We had an all-time great lineup in 2012, 2013. And who knows what would have happened if we didn't have the likes of a Jim Rome or a Scotty Farrell. I'm not going to do the voice. Or somebody like John Feinstein. Jim Rome, and I heard Zach Gelb talking about this week, and he did a wonderful job remembering John Feinstein and talking with his, fellow unofficial co-host Andrew Bogish. And, Feinstein brought so much credibility to what we do. And we're very fortunate and blessed to be around 13 years later, still be able to do this 24/7. As you look at the entertainment industry at large, especially sports content, and you see all the layoffs at ESPN, and you see the layoffs at SiriusXM, And you hear about that in the industry. We've been very, very lucky and fortunate at the Infinity Sports Network. We have been. Because we're still 24/7. And it's a testament to somebody like David Marinick, who's been in a leadership position here for 12 plus years. You need that here. You need the Pete Pilates of the world. You need the Andrew Boguses of the world, because they're all three individuals of tremendous character. And you also need characters. And that was John Feinstein. Love him or hate him, you are going to get a really fine-tuned, entertaining, compelling, and provocative show. John could do that with the best of them. And again, I didn't experience the difficult label that I feel like he's been getting the past couple of days, unfortunately. But I do know this. To pass away at 68 years old, when you still have your fastball, you're still one of the best sports writers in America, is a huge loss. But we owe a tip of the cap to John Feinstein, because if not for somebody like him, who knows the direction of what CBS Sports Radio and ultimately Infinity Sports Network would have gone. He's one of the founders here. He was one of the principal names here doing our, morning show right after Tiki Barber, Brandon Tierney, and Dana Jacobson. And what was so fascinating about John Feinstein, and this is really cool, and I'm not going to lie to you, I hope to get here at some point in my career when the biggest athletes, now it's not going to be LeBron because I can't even get in touch with his PR people at this point. They're not even getting back to me twice now. I digress. When you discuss somebody like LeBron James and one of the biggest names on planet Earth, certainly the biggest name in sports, to have LeBron James consult and seek after members of the media for their advice, that just doesn't happen. That's what they did with John Feinstein. That's what Coach K would do with John Feinstein. That's what Roy Williams would do. That's what Tom Izzo would do. Well, why is that? Because he had such a strong connection and relationship to Bob Knight. Now, Bob Knight denounced the book, every single day he could, every opportunity that he had. But he denounced the book because it was all true. And Bob Knight used to only see things in black and white. There was no nuance. There was no gray. And that was all John Feinstein. He had the ability to see both perspectives and be impartial and fair-minded while he did that. And it was real. It was genuine. It was so forthcoming. Everything that took place in Season on the Brink. But what was even more fascinating about John was that, again, you had the most notable names, not in just sports media, but in sports in general. And they would want to get in touch with John Feinstein to see what he would think they should do with their career, with coaching decisions, with big picture stuff. That is genius. And that's why John had such access that was unprecedented, that we'd never seen before from any sports writer and may never see again. If you had an opportunity to listen to that interview with Andrew Bogusch and Zach Gelb, it was really moving, it was very well informed, and it gave you a huge, accurate glimpse of the impact of John Feinstein, not just as a member of our family in his time here, but what he meant to not just college basketball, but the sporting world. Let's take a listen to that interview. Not the whole thing, but this particular clip. This is obviously Andrew Bogusch with our Zach Gelb on the Infinity Sports Network.
I knew who he was, but to be next to him for those 2+ years, seeing it in reality, it was shocking. Like the amount of people, really, really significant, important people in college basketball in particular, college football as well, that wanted to talk to him, that sought him out. I mean, I sat with him one year when the NCAA tournament was at Madison Square Garden, and he was on the phone with a, still I can't name out loud, but a prominent college basketball coach giving him advice on another job, leaving the current one he had to go take one at a bigger conference. And this person had called him to get his opinion on whether he should leave school A for school B.
Wow.
And if I remember correctly, he stayed where he was because that was part of John's argument. So like that's how significant he was. Coach K, Dean Smith, Jim Valvano, but like these people opened up to him like nobody else. I mean, it's starting with the Bob Knight book that made John who he was, that started this legendary Hall of Fame career. the deference that legends had for him and the fanboying sometimes that these legends had of him, it never got old, and it was always surprising.
It's really well said by our very own Andrew Bogus. You know, he had a book, you know, called Best Seat in the House that I think is so underrated. This is an individual that wrote 48 books. Half of them were bestsellers. That Season on the Brink book that he wrote turned into a television documentary. It turned into a movie. And, you know, the truth of the matter is, you know, John Feinstein was able to get unprecedented access because he was just that good. He was that good. He was a Washington Post columnist in his early 20s. I mean, who does that? I don't know anyone in the early 20s that becomes a columnist for a major newspaper publication, but that was John Feinstein for you. And, you know, he didn't just do this with college basketball. He had unprecedented access to Dean Smith, and obviously that's college basketball, but you go beyond that. You know, someone like a Jack Nicklaus, someone like an Yvonne Lendl, John McEnroe. Everyone knew John. Everyone knew him because he was everywhere. He was all-encompassing. And, you know, we just want to send our heartfelt condolences to his wife, Christine, his son, Danny, and his daughters, you know, Bridget and Jane. And, you know, just on a personal note, I want to thank John for being one of the founding names and faces of this network. I want to thank him for being unapologetically himself, something Carlos Ortiz finds himself doing every day, especially this week with that cheap steak. Boy, I won't get into that, but you got to love Carlos for putting it out there. You know, whenever I would ask him to come on our weekend shows, whenever I would want to pick his brain on anything, John was always available. Whenever he visited the New York studios, there was always something I took away from our conversations. And he was never in a rush. He never big-timed me. And he could have. He's John Feinstein. He never did. And so I don't just want us to remember him as one of the most talented sports writers to ever live. I don't just want to remember him as someone that played an integral role in the founding of this particular network. I don't just want to remember him as someone that did arguably the best sports minutes we've ever seen on the Infinity Sports Network, but I want to remember him as someone that was also a decent human being at his core. R.I.P. John Feinstein, and thank you for the mark and the legacy you have left for us in sports, and especially those that knew you at the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. That is 855-212-4227. If you cannot get through our busy phone lines, you can always follow me on Twitter, X, also known as, or you can follow me on Instagram at ShepOnAir. When you think of John Feinstein's work, was he as special to you as he was to us at the Infinity Sports Network? Because to me, he's not just one of the great writers, he's one of the great personalities in the history of sports, 68 years old, far too young to leave us, but you leave behind a lasting and indelible memory and legacy. Very curious what your thoughts are about the life and legacy of John Feinstein. And up next, we're going to get back to a sport that I know he would be watching every single second if he could, because March Madness has certainly begun. And I'll give you my big takeaways so far from what we've seen in Conference Championship Tournament weekend. This is The Good Shepherd. This is the Infinity Sports Network, and you know we're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Billy in Green Bay, who's waiting patiently. Billy, how you doing? And what's the solution for court storming, my friend?
Shep, man. First of all, I love what you do here.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. You can always follow me at Shep on Air. You can always get me on social media on Instagram as well at that same handle. We are on YouTube. It's great to be back on YouTube. We were certainly on YouTube last weekend, both mornings, and good to report that we're going to be on both mornings this weekend as well. Want to get to your calls on John Feinstein, March Madness so far, but I do want to talk about my big, key takeaways so far from March Madness. And it doesn't have to be the NCAA tournament for it to be March Madness. It has certainly been that in these conference games so far, especially in these semifinals games. Now, first of all, that Duke-UNC game never should have gotten to a point where it took a free throw to win against Duke without Cooper Flagg being out there. That was their best rebounder all season. He was their best at everything all season. Now, I hope for the sake of not just Duke, but college basketball, that ankle is recovered in a few days from now when we come to the NCAA tournament. That's another story for a different day. Hopefully we get good news sooner than later. But you can't get out-rebounded 23-14 with Cooper Flagg not being out there. Like, that's inexcusable. And Duke shot, 50% from the floor, but they were like 30% from downtown in the first half, and they were still up by 21 points. You can't allow that to happen if you're UNC. You expect to be a tournament team? Please. And thank God for second-team all-ACC guard, Con Knippel, because he was unbelievable, setting the tone in the first half. He missed just one shot, still was able to come out with 12 points, only guy in double figures in the first half. And I give UNC credit for this. They were able to storm back down 24 points in the second half, but you cannot rely on waking up in the second half to be the ingredient in the recipe to winning. Now, unfortunately, Van Allen Lubin, he clanked the first free throw when they had an opportunity to take the lead. If they were down 1-2 made free throws, so he misses the first one. And the second one, Jalen Withers, he steps in the lane too early. The free throws waved off, and that was that. So, John Shire, I'm a big Shire fan. Y'all know that. Summarize this game for us against UNC, please.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give you the best rundown of that game. It's still a blur to me. I just thought our team had great fight. Incredible fight, stepping up. Coop and Malik being out. And I thought, Tyrese and Con in particular, they just had a great presence about them. Our defense was great in the first half. And then the second half, we knew they'd put more pressure on our defense with their transition, and probably had a couple of turnovers we wish we could get back to get them going. But just, you have to make enough winning plays, and tonight we made one more winning play.
I think that's fair to say, Coach Shire. I remember him when he was balling for the 2010 national champion Duke Blue Devils. Man, time flies. Speaking of time flying, it's flown this year because they don't just have Cooper Flagg. They don't just have Con Knippel. They have an individual in Tyrese Proctor, and John Shire made sure to give those two guys a shout-out after the latest win.
Con's 2 free throws were huge. Puts us up 3. That's a big difference. And I thought Tyrese maybe had the shot of the game. We were up 4. Just, we couldn't score. They were scoring every time down. He had a pull-up to put us up 6 where it rolled in. That was a big basket for us to get some breathing room. But really proud of our team.
You have a really good reason to be proud of your team. Up 20-plus points in the first half. Now, to say you were distraught, that wouldn't apply to you. Would apply to Hubert Davis. Now, he's been, getting that chatter and hearing those murmurs about that hot seat getting awfully warm these days because your first year, you beat Coach K, you beat Duke in the Final Four, you're playing for the national championship. Unbelievable first year for Hubert. Hasn't exactly been the same the last few years. So this is a distraught Hubert Davis in year 4. And I feel bad for him because he's one of the nicest people you will ever meet in this line of work. You certainly feel bad for him after these comments.
I played 4 years here, 12 years in the NBA, 9 years as an assistant, and now 4 years as a head coach.
Glad we have his biography.
And I can't be more proud of a team than I am right now. Just love these guys to death. I love their fight. I love their togetherness. I love how close they are. And as I said before, I told them after the game, I didn't think that I could be more proud of a group than I am right now, but I am even more proud.
I wish someone would have followed up and said, hey, Coach, you got out-rebounded by 10 without Duke's best rebounder in Cooper Flagg. You were down 20-plus points going into halftime. Did you feel the same way about your level of proudness for your team? Would have liked to have seen a follow-up there. Speaking of follow-up, there's been a lot of conversation about Houston and Calvin Sampson. They look to be a number 1 seed along with Duke, along with Auburn, possibly Florida's getting in there as well. Calvin Sampson, last 5 years, has made at least a Sweet 16, snuck into a Final Four in 2021. They were unbelievable against BYU, which is a ranked top 25 team, by the way. Houston found a way to more than double them up. They held BYU to just 20 first-half points. You talk about the Emmanuel Sharps of the world, LJ Quire. They had more points as a guard backcourt than the entire BYU team in the first half. You talk about guard dominance in this game on full display. Houston sailed their way ultimately through the Big 12 semifinal, winning by 20. Calvin Sampson, talk about that win and what it means to your legacy in the Big 12, please.
You get a chance to play in a championship game, but at the end of the day, it's a 3-day tournament. The game tomorrow night doesn't determine the Big 12 champion. The regular season determines the Big 12 champion. That's why you play 20 games. You know, we played a game on December 30th, and we played the last one on March 8th. And over the course of 20 games, we decided who the Big 12 champion was. Now, in this little three games in 3 days, it's an awesome chance for the Big 12 to show how great this conference is.
Yeah, it's certainly a great conference, and you can certainly say that about the Big East. Rick Pitino, the famous viral clip that has gone around and made all the rounds about adversity, talking about his team. Where were you born? Where do you come from? When adversity happens, you don't, wilt, you don't fall off. You get tough, you get gritty, and you really dig deep. Well, that's what St. John's did in the semifinal of their Big East tournament against Marquette. Not even 7 minutes into this game, the Johnnies were down 15 points. But as they have all year, they have put resiliency in their middle name. You look up St. John's, it will be next to the definition of resiliency with what they have been able to do in these short 2 years under Rick Pitino. Unbelievable win by 16 points for the first time in a quarter century. Greg, how old are you?
I am 30.
Okay. Look good, man. Not the 30s old. Not the
Wow.
30s old, by the way. But you look good.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned that Shire 2010 team. I
Right.
remember it vividly.
Yeah.
Do you remember how that title game ended?
Yes.
If Gordon Hayward's shot
Makes that
goes
half
in,
court go- yeah.
it's one of the greatest endings I've ever seen in a sporting event.
You got
to win
that.
the national championship.
You got that right. And so, with all that being said, so you were alive to remember the last time the Johnnies were in a Big East championship game. It's been 25 years. It's been quite some time, but that is the magic of Rick Pitino, who was not only a Hall of Fame coach in college basketball. You can make an argument. The fact that he has brought 5 teams now to a regular season title in their conference is remarkable. The fact that most guys his age are on a beach sipping pina coladas, well retired, he's still going strong and at the top of his game. So Rick Pitino, how does it feel to advance to your first Big East championship game as the St. John Storm head coach? And this is courtesy of Fox Sports.
You know, so many things have happened 40 years, 25 years. I'm a young guy. I wasn't born during those times. So for me, it's all new. It's all great. I'm proud of St. John's, proud of the players. Great atmosphere. There's nothing better in the world than being in the semifinal game in the Big East tournament.
Yeah, it's well said. Maryland, by the way, they're another standout to me. They need to be at least a 2 seed in the tournament. They ended up winning their game by 23 points. They scored 57 in the first half alone. You know, Maryland, you feel like is the little brother to Duke and UNC in the ACC, but I hope they get their love. Lastly, UConn, they don't have it. They don't have it. Creighton completely outplayed them in the first half, and then they out-executed them, out-willed them, out-toughed them, out-manned them.
Kind of
in the
nice to see
second half.
UConn getting humbled, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Greg. Yes. Now, Creighton, you saw Creighton get the ball. They were up by 3 points. You give UConn credit for rallying back, getting it to one possession in the second half, and then you saw UConn lose its cool. Specifically, Dan Hurley. When you are the head of any organization and you are in charge, your team feeds off your emotion. Now, you can get away with that in 2023 and 2024 when you have 3-4 NBA guys on your squad and you're just so much better than everybody else and you're winning every single NCAA tournament game by at least 13 points. They did that the last 2 NCAA tournaments. This ain't that same team. And so when Dan freaks out over a missed call, and he had a right to be angry, but he just went all histrionic and he went nuts, your team, then they get flustered. Then they get out of sync. They get out of rhythm. Dan's not coaching this team well this year. They're losing too many close games because he's allowing the refs to get the better of his squad, and it starts with him. And so to me, I'm going to be honest, it seems like Danny Hurley, who has been a phenomenal coach at UConn, he is a Hall of Fame coach, he has been the best coach in college basketball the last 10 years. But this year is a different animal. and he is not getting the best out of these guys. And you could see once that call went against them, when they were down only 3 points, you saw Creighton go right back to court on offense, knock down the three like it was nothing, makes it a 2-possession game, and they never looked back. UConn was never to get it ever closer past that point. That's a problem because you feed off the anxiety or the confidence of your head coach. I know we're in the NIL age. I know we are in the easily, transfer portal age, but still, you follow the lead of your coach. And Dan Hurley, to me, seems like an oversized, egomaniacal personality at times than he does as an actual head coach in this game. And it's why I see an early exit for the UConn Huskies. Congratulations to Coach McDermott and Creighton. You were the more composed team. And even though UConn, I felt like, should have won this game, it was Creighton that handled their business. Congratulations to them. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. That is 855-212-4227. We've spoken about the life and legacy of John Feinstein. I've certainly given you my 5 big takeaways so far from March Madness. Not the big dance, but at least the conference tournament championship games. Let's hit the streets. Let's get to the busy phone lines. Let's begin with Josh in Spokane, Washington. Josh, I appreciate the patience as always, brother. How you doing? What you got for us, man?
What's up, Shep? I'm so good, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man.
Early morning.
Thanks, man. I hear you, brother. Hey, you excited for college basketball? You feel like it's getting the same buzz as it has in recent years? Because we all know it was a down year last year for the men's tournament because of that, woman named Caitlin Clark. I think she was pretty good.
Oh, pretty good. That's kind of an understatement, Shep. Dude, hey, I will say, man, March is my favorite month of the year. It's what I call Gonzaga month, even though we might not go far. I go there, so I'm really hoping we do well. Mark Few, he always has a way to do it. And
unless it comes down to winning the NCAA tournament, he does always have a way to do it, yes. That's the one thing missing from his resume, and you know it.
Thanks so much for reminding me,
What's
Shep.
the
That
truth?
just really made my day even more, brother.
Hey, listen, you got by. I'll never forget that game against UCLA. That with Suggs, I'll never forget that game. What an incredible buzzer beater that was.
Oh, dude, I will never forget that day. That's the loudest I've ever been.
Yes.
Over a game. That and then Strother did the half-court shot almost 2 years later.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Can you hear me, Shep, by the way?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
I can. Sorry. Yeah, just
Good.
making sure. So you mentioned this brilliantly. I was going to say this. So I feel like in situations that can close games, the last thing it's one thing to be intense, Shep. It's another thing to be a total jackrabbit. And all year I feel like Dan Hurley's been acting like that in these close situations.
100%.
Shep, I don't know if you watched that 60 Minutes interview.
I did. Josh, here's my thing. He can say all he wants and be as convincingly as he wants to be about it, that he has no regrets about not taking that Lakers job. Josh, if you and I got Dan Hurley in a private room and no cameras were rolling, and we said to him, okay, you get to coach Luka, you get to coach LeBron, you get to coach Dalton, you get to coach Austin, you get to coach Rui, or you get to coach this UConn team, which has no NBA star power whatsoever, and you're going to be mediocre when it comes to the NCAA tournament, and that's the best possibility. What do you think he would want to really do?
Well, I mean, right now, Shep, it's different because at the beginning of the year, obviously the team was so different. JJ wasn't set in stone yet. Luka wasn't set in stone yet. I think the reason he ended up staying was to ultimately get that three-peat, and I think it worked for him. Now, it's not working this year because it's not about his players, it seems, Shep. It's all about himself. It's all about I'm Dan Hurley. I'm going to scream at the ref. I'm going to just get in everyone's face. At the national championship, when he got in, I don't really like Zach Edey that much, but when he got in Zach's face at the championship, I'm like, right. What kind of coach is this?
Yeah, it's like, is he trying to pull a Woody Hayes? Like, what's he doing here? I'm with you. Now, obviously, he doesn't cross the line by making it physical, but, listen, when you are Dan Hurley, he's a star. Like, he just is. And I think that's part of why he stayed. Because if he goes to L.A., Josh, he's now behind the 8 ball. Because LeBron gets all the attention. He gets all the headlines. Yes. And to your point, Luka was not a member of the Lakers when Dan Hurley decided to say no thanks. It was Anthony Davis, who was the second star. And he knew that he would always be in their shadow. He would always take a back seat to both guys. At UConn, he's the mayor, he's the governor, he's the president, he's the emperor, he's everything. He's UConn basketball. He might have even overtaken Gino Auriemma. And I know 11 national titles and Gino Auriemma go together. I think Dan Hurley is the most important member of UConn in any capacity. And it's why he stayed. Because it was all about fulfilling and living into his ego. Because if he goes to L.A., he's not even the 5th biggest name on that franchise, let alone that community.
Well, it's not even star power, Shep, and I totally agree with that. I think that is ultimately, at the end of the day, he knows he's not going to be bigger than LeBron James or AD when he was a team member. I think in general, Shep, I think he realized it just wouldn't work out. Like, the type of intensity, unfortunately, doesn't work in the NBA when these guys are complaining and they don't want to be coached. You know, these college guys are hungry, and I think the last 2 years it's worked very well. But it kind of gets to a point, Shep, where you win these big games and you just think that you're the man. You get too big, you know. You get too big for your britches, and I think that's what's going on with Dan Hurley. I certainly don't see this being successful for them this year, man. I really don't.
No, it's definitely not going to be there. Hey, and at least he's not throwing chairs like another guy that had 2 national championships at the time. So maybe
dude, that guy's the legend. I'm sick and tired of losing to Purdue, Shep.
Oh, I love it. And thank you for not using expletives when you used that description of Bob Knight. That was great. Oh my God. If anyone hasn't seen that, go to YouTube, type in Bob Knight cursing out his team at halftime. And I'm telling you what, you talk like that for 10 seconds in 2025, you're going to find yourself another coaching job. But that's the genius of Bob Knight, and that was so highlighted by John Feinstein in his season on the brink. Josh, love the calls as always, brother. Have a good rest of your Saturday. We'll talk soon, okay?
God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh. God bless you, man. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. We're talking and remembering the legacy of John Feinstein. I gave you my 5 biggest takeaways from March Madness so far, at least in the conference championship tournaments. What are yours, and how will you remember John Feinstein? So much more to do on this busy program. Speaking of personalities, when we get to the top of the hour, we'll talk about a personality. It's not Dan Hurley. It's Micah Parsons versus DeMarcus Lawrence. Who's in the right? We'll get to that at the top. We'll get to your calls as well. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash on the Infinity Sports Network. Here is Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Chef, the Seahawks have themselves a new weapon for their quarterback in Sam Darnold, as Cooper Kupp reportedly gets a 3-year deal at $45 million to join Seattle. 31-year-old Kupp is a Washington native, played at Eastern Washington as well. College hoops, St. John's ripped Marquette 79-63, marking their first trip to the Big East Finals in 25 years.
So many things have happened 40 years, 25 years. I'm a young guy. I wasn't born during those times. So for me, it's all new. It's all great. I'm proud of St. John's, proud of the players. Great atmosphere. There's nothing better in the world than being in the semifinal game in the Big East tournament.
That's head coach Rick Pitino, courtesy of Fox. Their opponent's going to be Creighton in the finals. They turned aside UConn 71-62. Elsewhere in the ACC, Duke withstood North Carolina 74-71 despite not having Cooper Flagg, as North Carolina nearly came back from 19 down at the half. Louisville up at Clemson 76-73. In the SEC, Alabama dominated Kentucky 99-70. Florida rocked Missouri 95-81. Auburn withstood Ole Miss 62-57, while Tennessee bounced Texas 83-72. Big 12, Houston pounded BYU 74-54, while Arizona surprised Texas Tech 86-80. And in the Big 10, Michigan thumped Purdue 86-68. Michigan State too much for Oregon 74-64. Wisconsin overpowered UCLA 86-70, and Maryland disposed of Illinois 88-65. Elsewhere, Iowa has fired their head coach and Fran McCaffrey after 15 seasons. He leaves the school as the all-time wins leader at 297. Taking a look at the NBA, where the Cavs win streak now stands at 16. They finished off the Grizzlies 133-124. Nuggets able to hold off the Lakers 131-126. That's now 4 straight losses for LA, as they did not have both LeBron James and Luka Doncic for this one. T-Wolves down the Magic 118-111. Anthony Edwards with 28. Celtics roll the Heat 103-91. Jason Tatum 28. Pacers drill the Sixers 112-100. Pascal Siakam with 27. Clippers rock the Hawks 121-98 behind 25 from James Harden. Hornets outscore the Spurs 145-134. Suns had no problems with the Kings 122-106. Devin Booker had 22 points and 13 assists. Raptors handled the Jazz 126-118, and the Rockets, they pound the Mavericks 133-96. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is JR from the JR Sport Brief. The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. Just say, play the Infinity Sports Network for the best in sports talk and entertainment.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
want to say I so respect your sports knowledge, all the sports. You're obviously like a super expert in the NBA, but you know all the sports for years back. Like you have such perfect, what my parents would call bedside manners, where you are polite to listeners, you don't cut them off.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. We've certainly began this program by kicking off what I believe is the ultimate time in sports from an amateur perspective, and that is March Madness. And yes, we're certainly going to give some love to the women's game as well. Juju Watkins, Juju on that beat, is incredible as a sophomore, and she may do something that Caitlin Clark never accomplished in college basketball. And it's not just winning the ultimate prize. We'll probably get to more of that tomorrow. But want to get back to those who have been waiting patiently, talking about March Madness. Let's get to this guy. Speaking of characters, Barry in Boston. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, brother.
How you doing, Barry? How's everything? Good?
I'm very good.
Good,
so, March Madness is March Madness. It's crazy. I love college basketball. It's so awesome. And tonight, that poor kid from North Carolina,
it's tough, yeah.
I mean, that could be my son, that could be your son, that could be anybody's son.
Well, he's too old to be my son, but he's old enough to be...
You know what I mean.
Yes.
So, the poor kid.
And Barry, if you're going to have anything like that happen to you, where you're getting a free throw taken away from your team because of a violation, you want to be playing for someone like Hubert Davis.
Yeah, well, he was just too excited. So, when that happened to me, because I'm more of a basketball player than I am a hockey player, I feel bad for that kid. So, anyway.
Yeah. Hey, Barry, it could have been worse. Could have been in the NCAA tournament, and their season was done because of that. So this could be the biggest blessing for UNC to when you do storm back from 24 points down in the second half, the job's not finished until the job's finished. And every single play, every single detail, every single meticulous second means everything. And so hopefully this makes them better if they're lucky enough and fortunate enough to make the final 68 teams.
Yes, so I don't think they will, because I know they were down by 21 or 23 points, and they came back, stormed back, which is unbelievable. Yeah. That's awesome. And Duke and North Carolina, they share the same campus. It's right across the street from each other, which is so awesome when they play each other.
Yeah.
And the poor kid made a mistake. We all make mistakes in life.
Yeah, Barry, I think that's the takeaway. We all make mistakes. It's never a mistake when you call, buddy. I appreciate you, Barry. You sound a little sad, but I hope you have a good rest of your Saturday morning. Always a pleasure to speak to you, my friend.
Have a great St. Patrick's Day, okay, buddy?
You too, Barry. And be safe and be responsible. I know you always are. Thank you, Barry. Good to hear from you. Number to get aboard, 855-212-4227. All right, Johnny in Atlanta, always good to hear from you. Preach on Rutgers, because this is a point that not a lot of people are making about the two studs they have. They're going to be the top 5 picks in the NBA draft, yet they're somehow 15 and 17 on the year. To me, it makes no sense. What's your take on it, Johnny?
Man, I remember I called at the beginning of the year. I said, hey, Rutgers is going to be in the March Madness. I guess I was wrong, but, hey, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper still going to be the top pick. I guess, college basketball, I guess you got to be seasoned and know how to play together. You know how to play. They didn't know how to play, but they didn't know how to win.
Well, Johnny, remember, win. I mean, and I know Ben Simmons sucks now, but this guy was the closest thing to Magic Johnson I've ever seen in college. He didn't even. Yeah, exactly. They didn't make the tour. They didn't make the tournament.
And another sad thing, I'm mad. My Georgia, they probably won't make the tournament, but they was in the hardest division once again. Who thought SEC was a basketball conference?
Gotta love Auburn. Gotta love Bruce Pearl, man. Gotta love
Auburn.
Yeah.
Alabama, Texas A&M,
Florida,
Oklahoma, Florida.
Yep.
Like, man,
they're deep. We didn't even mention Kentucky.
Yeah, we ain't even now. And the Kentucky, that's the only thing. Back in the day, that's the only thing was SEC. But now it's basically the whole conference. So,
you're not kidding.
The two teams I wanted most in March Madness, but I'm still excited. I can't wait to watch it.
Me too, man.
I think Duke. I'm pulling for Duke, but
Right.
I don't know if Cooper Flag gonna come back and play. But
Well, here's what's encouraging, and I don't know if this is intentional. When they ruled him out with the ankle injury in this ACC semifinal game against UNC, they did it a couple hours beforehand, so it wasn't like, hey, he's out for the foreseeable future. He's out, indefinitely. I don't know if that's a ploy to get people, to tune in and not totally give up on Duke. I don't know if that's because they're jockeying for number one seeding, even though what they've done absolutely warrants them being a number one seed. In fact, I think they should be the number one overall seed. So I don't know if that's playing politics, but I do know this tournament is going to suffer a huge blow if that guy who just turned 18 years old is not in the tournament, because he's the biggest name we've had in a decade. No disrespect to Zion Williamson. I think we're looking at the greatest freshman we've seen in quite some time.
I was never a Zion Williamson fan. But,
well, he was really good. He was really good. Come on now.
He was big. He wasn't good, and he showed when they played in March Madness. He didn't show up. So, my thing is like, who do you got in the March Madness?
I got. Listen, I'm leaning in on Cooper. Cooper Flag's health. I'm hoping that ankle recovers, and I'm going with them. I'm going with Duke. I mean, 3 losses, and only 3 of them have come by 2 possessions or less. And they've had 1 loss in the last 3 months, for God's sakes. 17-0 at Cameron Indoor. I'm going with the Blue Devils. Johnny, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the championship games on Saturday, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, Sonny.
Thanks, Johnny. Always good to hear from you, brother. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. When we get back, we're going to take your calls. I know a lot of people still want to weigh in on college basketball. Also, speaking of personalities, DeMarcus Lawrence versus Micah Parsons, former teammates going at it. We'll give you the details on that next. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's all right with me.
Back to the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. You could be in your truck, you could be in your car, you could be at work like myself and Greg Frank, producing this program. And just want to remind everybody that it's not just March Madness going on right now. We're going to get back to your phone calls momentarily as well. It's March Madness on the football field. Well, not really. Between two guys that used to share a football field, and that, of course, is DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. So to give you what's happened and what's transpired with DeMarcus Lawrence, after 11 years with the Dallas Cowboys, not exactly the most favorable year in 2024, he elects to go elsewhere. The Cowboys weren't going to pay him the way the Seahawks were. They end up giving him a 3-year deal worth $32.5 million. That's not what made the headlines this week. It was when DeMarcus Lawrence decided to say this to the media when speaking about his former team, the Dallas Cowboys. Let's play that clip.
Dallas is my home. I made my home there. My family lives there. I'm forever going to be there. But, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
We're here. DeMarcus Lawrence, welcome to the Seahawks. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so that understandably drew a very dramatic response from from Micah Parsons, and he said that this is what rejection and envy look like. Quote, this is some clown bleep. Can't say that. I completely understand Parsons' frustration here. They are teammates of 4+ years, fellow pass rushers. He broke the code to some extent. Now, in fairness to Parsons, Lawrence did not exactly finish his career strong with the Cowboys. He was able to only play in 13 games in his last season because he suffered that foot injury. And so it's not exactly like DeMarcus Lawrence was part of the winning formula. Like Myles Garrett just, re-signed with Cleveland. And if Myles Garrett comes out and says, look, I was never going to win a Super Bowl in Cleveland. Now, we all know that was all about money. But beforehand, he had said, I can't win a Super Bowl in Cleveland. At least he said that by asking out. No one had a problem with that. No one took issue with that because Myles Garrett, you felt like, did everything he could to get the Browns over the edge, to get them in a competitive space, to get them to have some credibility. He did everything. You never got that feeling from DeMarcus Lawrence. So even though the message is right, because when you push out Mike McCarthy, who's one of the most successful coaches in NFL history, it's not just my opinion, it's facts. Top 20 all-time winningest coach in NFL history. Look at the winning percentage. Look at the Super Bowl. The fact that he was able to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Now that you see Aaron Rodgers, in his twilight of his career, makes it even more impressive, right? You saw what Mike McCarthy did winning back-to-back 12-win seasons with Dallas, something that has never been done by a single coach in Cowboys franchise history, not Jimmy Johnson, not Tom Landry, not Jason Garrett. I'm kidding about the third one. But you pushed out one of the great coaches in NFL history in Mike McCarthy. You did. Look at the record. For a guy in Brian Schottenheimer, who I wouldn't hire to coach my flag football team as a head coach, and the only reason he got the nod to be a head coach was because he happened to be in the building. It had nothing to do with his qualifications. It has nothing to do with his capabilities. There's not a single other NFL squad of the 31 other teams that would even have considered him as their head coach, but Jerry Jones wanted a guy who he could control the strings of, who he could have as a puppet so he could be, again, the puppet master. I understand what DeMarcus Lawrence is saying, but the problem I have with that, and where I side with Micah Parsons, is where's the Seahawks done lately? Tell me. What have they done? Because I'll tell you the team that's won a playoff game more recently, it ain't the Seahawks. It's the Cowboys. Now, he's not going to, the Legion of Boom. This ain't 2014, 2015.
Funny enough, I think the Cowboys beat the Seahawks in a playoff game.
Maybe.
With Dak Prescott.
Well, listen, Greg, if we're being honest, there's no question who the better quarterback is. Now, I love the fact that they gave Sam Darnold $30+ million a year. Good for him. Great redemption story. But I'm taking Dak every single day of the week and twice on Sunday before I'm taking Sam Darnold. I know this. He's not going to get the yips in big games. Now, he may throw you out of a game, but he's not going to get the yips we saw from Sam Darnold like he did against, obviously, the Lions and then eventually the Rams in the playoffs. So, to me, this is sour grapes for DeMarcus Lawrence because, let's be honest, Dallas was not willing to offer him anywhere near what Seattle was willing to offer him. Now, to Greg's point, it would be nice and lovely if the Cowboys and Seahawks matched up against each other. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that in 2025. And while I do appreciate Lawrence's transparency, it's coming from the wrong guy. It's coming from a guy that did not play great in his final year in Dallas, and it's also coming from a guy that's going to a team that's going nowhere next year. And I love Sam Darnold, and the story that he has is incredible. 14 wins in one season, when in the first 6, he had just a mild 21 wins. But they ain't going anywhere. Now, you joined the Chiefs, you joined the Eagles, you can say this. Can't say that if you're joining Seattle. I'm sorry. And so I know the Cowboys, they haven't won a Super Bowl. They haven't even been to an NFC title game in nearly 30 years. But you're going to Seattle. You ain't going to a promising franchise. Who are we kidding? I did not like these particular comments, and I give Micah Parsons credit for speaking his truth. And I got no problem with him doing that podcast, Bleacher Report. When you're a badass like Micah Parsons is, you make 4 straight Pro Bowls out of Penn State in your first 4 years in the NFL. You can do whatever you damn well please. And he's also great for the Infinity Sports Network. You've seen him go viral a couple times with Zach Gelb. Number to go to get aboard is 855-212-4227. That is 855-212-4227. Do you consider DeMarcus Lawrence comments fair, or are they out of bounds? Now, we got a lot of calls lined up, Greg, on the NCAA tournament and March Madness, but there was a point you wanted to make about Danny Hurley in terms of costing his team this year, which he certainly has done more times than just once. It's not just the conference tournament. We saw that in Hawaii. What are your thoughts about Dan Hurley so far in 2024?
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, the warning signs were there going back to the Maui Invitational when UConn finished last. He's collapsing on the sideline, and they lose a close game against Memphis. They got blown out by Dayton. And then, if you remember after that Dayton game, he said he'll never participate in a multi-team event again. I mean, the sour grapes there were ridiculous. And the point that I was also emphasizing when you were talking about that Laker job, can you imagine the shtick and the antics on the sideline in the NBA, LeBron is going to be looking at him like, what is this dude doing?
Well, LeBron's going to throw him out of the building at some point. Like no. Listen, you're not going to cost LeBron in year 22. What he's doing this year is unprecedented. And by the way, we're going to get into the Lakers, and shout out to Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect that combined for 69 points in what was a 2-possession game against the Nuggets when it seemed like half their roster was missing. Yeah, he it would have been amazing if Dan Hurley took the Lakers job. Now, he may be in the NBA. I think that's where his ultimate goal is. I think if the Knicks,
that kind of feels like the job he's waiting for.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Obviously, growing up on the East Coast, I know Chris Persianen. If he's not texting me or tweeting me, he's giving me some nugget about the NBA because God knows how that kid knows as much as he does at 23 is remarkable. But he said this, man. The Knicks that's his destiny. He grew up on the East Coast, grew up listening to Jody Mack, by the way, and that's been
just on the other side of the state in Jersey City.
So, right, and obviously a legendary coaching family. Bobby, not so much as a coach, but as a player, but definitely Bobby Sr., what he was able to do with the Miracle at St. Anthony. So that's a great point out of you, Greg. There's no way he would have been able to get away with that behavior, and it's why you credit someone like Billy Donovan for making that adjustment. Now, he coaches in Siberia in the NBA, and that's also known as the Chicago Bulls these days. I think he regrets leaving college, but I give him credit for lasting as long as he has in the NBA.
Well, and Billy also started in a small market in Oklahoma City, which maybe eased the transition as well.
See, that's a myth. There's no such thing as a small market in the NBA because it's a global game. And again, look who he's coaching. He's coaching KD. He's coaching Russ. He's coaching Sturge.
Yeah.
So there's nothing about
coaching. Handle the personalities.
There's nothing about coaching in a small market when you're coaching two of the top. I'd say Russ is top 40 all time. I think KD is knocking on the door of top 10. By the way, we're not going to do a Steph Curry top 10 conversation. I know Sports Center wanted to make a 3-hour segment out of that. My God, anytime Steph Curry does anything, is he a top 10 player? First of all, he's not a top 10 player, okay? Because in order for him to be a top 10 player, that means guys like Wilt Chamberlain aren't, or Bill Russell would not be, or Larry Bird would not be, or Kobe would not be, or Duncan would not be, or Shaq would not be. None of those guys are Steph Curry. He's not in their league yet. Glad we solved that. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. Let's get back to the phone lines. And again, do you consider DeMarcus Lawrence comments out of bounds, or are they fair game regarding his former team, completely throwing them under the bus? I got no problem with him throwing the Cowboys under the bus, but it doesn't look good doing that when you're going to Seattle, which probably is going to win less games than even Dallas. Let's get to Marshall in Milwaukee. Marshall, always good to hear from you, my friend. How you doing? What you got for us, sir?
Shep, it's great to talk to you as always. Unfortunately, I missed your very early stuff. I fell asleep. I'm a little heartbroken tonight, as you can imagine.
Yeah, now, Marshall, just to clarify, did you fall asleep to me on the radio, or did you fall asleep before the show? Because one hurts my ego. The other is understandable because it's late.
It was before the show.
Okay, good. And if it wasn't, thanks for lying. But go ahead.
And, I'll just say this. Just about the game, it hurts.
Heartbreaker, yeah.
It hurts whenever we lose to those guys, but it hurts even worse when it's 3 times in the same season. And we were right there at the end. It was a great comeback. However, you made the great point. What in the heck were we doing down 21 points at halftime?
And getting out rebounded by 10 without Cooper Flag out there? Like, come on, man. Like, what is UNC doing? You got to wake up. It's the first half of the ACC semifinal. You don't wake up in the second half and expect it to be peaches and cream. Like, you lost this game in the first half. And yes, incredible comeback, but you never should have been in this position in the first place.
Exactly. And I think, besides the class that we show, and I'll say something about Coach Davis, one of the nicest things he said, and it was a tough post game, but he said, this is back to Dean Smith, to all your young folks out there, this is back to the greatest coach, one of the greatest ever, and I wish you could have been around to see him. But
I was, Marshall. I caught Dean Smith. And I didn't catch him in the 80s, but I caught him when he was coaching Rasheed and Vince and Jameson and Ed Cota. He was class personified, man. Like, and you see a lot of the influence that he's had on guys like Roy Williams, Matt Doherty, now Hubert Davis. You see it in the way they conduct themselves.
That's what I mean. And, just one of the nicest comments that he made was, we lose together, we win together. And we just didn't make enough plays. Withers, you feel bad for the guy, and there's no question about it. It's hard to believe that call was made, but from what the announcers on Chapel Hill were saying, Tyler Zeller being one of them, they thought it was a good call. It was a call within the rules you had to make. And,
sure.
It's just one of those things. I hope we make the tournament, but I think your caller in Boston was right on. To use a biblical analogy, which Hubert does all the time, Shep, that millstone around our neck is 1-12 against Quad 12, and if it costs us the tournament, I'm looking at it. It is what it is, and I think Carolina fans better be ready because this thing could go either way. That's where kind of I'm at right now.
Marshall, the good thing working in their favor is Hubert Davis is beloved, and he's beloved by everybody. And I remember years where Syracuse didn't get in, and it's because Jim Boeheim was a prick.
Yeah, I remember some of that too. I just want to make a quick comment, and it is a Dookie, and I know. But he was a great writer, was John Feinstein. He was, by the way, our politics couldn't be different. But I'll tell you what I liked about John Feinstein.
John Feinstein, yes.
Besides a great writer, on so many subjects, but he was willing to tell it like it is and not be afraid. And I give him that. And he also, the greatest thing he did for golf, tennis, college hoops, he added humanity to these people. He let us know that he even said some tough things about my gal, Chrissy Everett. We have to remember these people. He reminded us they're not perfect people. They put pants on and skirts on like we do every day, and they're going to be flawed people, and they're not always pristine. But we have to appreciate them as athletes and hope as people that they individually get it with whoever they serve as their higher power.
Sure.
We have to hope they get it eventually, but enjoy their exploits on the field. Everything he wrote, even for the National, the late publication, the National, which I used to read a long time ago.
Yep.
Every article that man wrote or every book that man wrote was a must-read, and it was knowledgeable to the point and
so thorough. It was so in depth.
Humanity.
Marshall, he left no stone left. To your point, he left no stone left unturned. If John Feinstein was going to write about something, he was going to bring it to life in a way that you never envisioned possible. And he just had an amazing mark on sports. And listen, to your point, it's an interesting time in our media coverage and journalism in general because it's fallen into the trap of, well, what do I write that's going to be the most sensational? What do I write that is going to garner the most attention? And the way you do that is by negativity. It's by attacking. It's by getting something juicy. Where John, that was never his intention. He just wanted to write his truth. He was never about, okay, how do I rip this athlete? How do I criticize and castigate and censor this particular coach? Yeah, it was, yes. It mattered to John. Sports mattered to John. He believed in it. He loved it. He breathed it. It was so much a part of what he got up for in the morning every single day. And you could tell, man, he left no detail. He didn't omit anything. He just cared so much about the craft, and you have to respect that. And you always knew his opinion, one way or the other, Marshall. And we lost a giant. We lost a giant in sports. So you were a giant, my friend, for your opinions, your perspective, and I always love hearing from you, brother. Continued good health, Marshall. We'll talk soon, okay, my friend?
Yes, continued prayers is for my checkups coming up. But
always.
The last thing I'll leave you with is on the DeMarcus Lawrence thing. You hit the nail right on the head. I just think there's a time and a place for those comments, and Seattle isn't, you don't have to remind me about 14-15. We Packer fans are speaking of heartbreak. But
I won't bring up the NFC title game. That's for sure.
That was great. But it's the wrong team. It's just the wrong situation. But he's right about Dallas. They're going in a very, very questionable direction. It's a tough time in Big D between the Luka trade and now the Cowboys hiring Schottenheimer.
It's a joke is what it is. Marshall, you be well, my friend. We'll talk soon. Thank you, man. Always good to hear from Marshall in Milwaukee. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. Let's get to JT in the ATL. JT, good morning, man. What you got for us, sir?
What's going on, Shep? Hey, I just want to, ask a little bit of lean because it's a little off topic for what you're talking about, but it's just something but
it's what you want to talk about, and that's important too. So go ahead, man.
So let me run this by you.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this whole. I've been a Laker fan since the 80s, right? Since Magic's first game.
That's the 70s. Right.
I've also watched LeBron's career since his first game. I used to live in Sacramento. I was there at the first game.
Yep, Arco Arena. Yep.
And I was like, yo, this guy is going to take over the league.
Right.
But then I've watched his career, and I've watched his insecurity and his ego and the way he operates and the passive-aggressive nature that is him. And it led me to believe, too, with the Lakers being on this 4-game slide, that what if, right? What if, because we all knew at some point at being 40, he was going to need to take a break during the season to get ready for the postseason, right? There was going to be a time where he was, and they can't rest him, so it has to be some sort of a medical issue, right? My thing was this, right? With this schedule, he saw the schedule coming up, right? With all this road trip, these multiple back-to-backs that we got going on, and he's like, now would be the perfect time because, before Luka got there, the team was still already doing well before Luka got there. Let's be clear. They had a different energy about
But they've skyrocketed up to a 2 seed. And I don't think anyone had the Lakers as a 2 seed this year.
No, and that's true. But then I think if I'm just looking through the lens of LeBron, he's like, listen, before he got here, it's almost like on Rounders where he's like, I was winning before he got here. Like, that type of deal when Matt Damon got caught cheating. But he's like, listen, I'll show you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out. I got a groin.
Hey, wait, time out. Hold on. JT, hold on for 1 second. Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Pay that
Had
man
to do
his
that.
money.
Had to do that. Sorry.
You got the alligator blood.
I love it.
Yeah, that's such a great movie.
Great movie. Great movie. I apologize, Gilberto in San Diego. I still have not seen Lawrence of Arabia. I promise. I shouldn't. You know what? No, I promise. I'm seeing that next time. Well, I can't say next time because I'm on the air in 20 hours. But the next time after that, I'm seeing Lawrence of Arabia, and I will have a very good solution and conclusion to what that movie means to American culture. All right, JT, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No worries. And so my thought is that he saw the schedule coming up. He's like, oh, my groin, you know what I mean? And then let's see how you guys do without,
come on,
right?
man.
And I feel like he's sitting back watching this 4-game slide going, ha. I told you it's about me.
No,
it's not about Luka. Everybody wanted to be about Luka.
JT, you're entitled. You're entitled to your opinion, and you're obviously well spoken. You're well informed. You're knowledgeable. But on this particular topic, you are dead wrong. LeBron James understands that every year, even though he hasn't made this year into a farewell tour, you never know. He's in year 22. I don't think this is it for him, but you never know. I don't think for a second that LeBron James is thinking about, hey, someone else is getting credit. Maybe I should sit this game out because of the brutal stretch we have, because I know there's a slim chance we win a lot of the games anyway because of the brutality of the schedule and the frequency of games, so let me sit out and recover. No. He is as smart as they come. He knows how competitive and how deep the Western Conference is. Like JT, like you've seen the last 4 games, they go on this 4-game losing streak. They slide from a 2 seed to a 5 seed. That's how close and competitive this conference is outside of Oklahoma City Thunder running away from everybody. There's no way at this point of his career, knowing that the end is so close to near, that he would sit out games to make a statement or make a point. I get why you said what you said. I completely disagree with it.
Okay, and so let's see this, right? Like, I mean, I could be, way off into the conspiracy theory pool and just in the deep end.
Well, this is a much better conspiracy theory than the last time I got about LeBron saying he's on HGH because how he's performing at 40. So this is at least keeping it in right. It's keeping it in the sanity of the conversation. So that I appreciate.
But this is what I would think too, though, right? Is that if he comes back, and is the savior, right? Like if we're on the verge of going into the play-in tournament,
right?
LeBron comes back, we go on another run, and it's like LeBron to the rescue, and everything changes. Just reconsider, maybe, just maybe, I might have a little bit of meat on that bone.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because, look, the Clippers are playing better. Timberwolves are playing a lot better. Sacramento and Dallas, they ain't going to do anything. But Minnesota and the Clippers are playing a lot better. And they're only 4.5 behind L.A. And to your point, if you're not a top 6 seed, you're obviously in that play-in tournament. But I don't think LeBron wants those extra games. I don't think he needs it. Like, he wants to be well-rested. And the biggest problem for the Lakers, JT, and you saw this last year when they got beaten in a gentleman's sweep against the Nuggets in the first round, is they had to have that extra game. And I don't think that does the Lakers any favors, especially when you've logged more minutes than anyone else in NBA history. So I will keep this theory in mind.
Let us get to that, right? I think he'll get better, right? The training staff will do what they do, and he'll come back and he'll make sure that we don't end up in that tournament. But again, he'll make sure that he's the reason why we don't have to face that perilous extra game.
That's a great GRE word right there, perilous. JT, well done, especially with the perilous definition at the end, man. I appreciate your comments. We'll talk soon, but it won't be about this theory because I think you're wrong, but we shall see, man. Have a good rest of your morning.
All right, Chef. You have a good show, man.
Thanks, JT. Appreciate the kind words, man. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. When we get back, I know a lot of people want to weigh in still on college basketball. We're certainly going to give some love to Cleveland because they did something in their franchise history that they've never done before. We'll give you the details on that. So much more to do on this busy program, and we're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's get to Nigel in Atlanta. Nigel, good to hear from you, man. What you got for us?
Chef, I got to give you so much love, man. You make so much sense.
This is The Good Shepherd. 855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us, the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network, host of The Good Shepherd. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. There's a lot of East Coast bias in sports media. There's a lot of East Coast bias in general. We're not going to do that on The Good Shepherd. We're going to give some love and flowers to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Without Donovan Mitchell for a second straight game, behind the brilliance of Evan Mobley and obviously Darius Garland, they come up with a 9-point victory, 133-124 against the Memphis Grizzlies, now winning a franchise best 16 straight games. This Cavaliers team, in my lifetime, has been to the NBA Finals 5 times. They had some guy named LeBron James. You probably have heard of him. They never, under LeBron James, have looked this good in the regular season. They're likely going to shatter the Cavaliers' franchise regular season win mark of 66 games. They are, without question, the most surprising team of the NBA season so far. OKC, they were a 1 seed last year. Boston, they're the defending champions. And there is such a gap right now between 1 and 2 in the Eastern Conference. Congratulations to Cleveland on making franchise history. Something tells me that will not be the only history they will be making in the 2024-2025 NBA campaign. Number to get aboard, 855-212-4227. Let's get back to the busy phone lines. Andrea in Berkeley, always good to hear from you. How you doing? What you got for us?
Yes, well, first things first, blessed full moon lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite an energy out there, and it's not over yet. The full moon, it's like a cold. You feel it a few days before, the day of, and a few days after.
Sure.
And I just want to enlighten your listeners and remind them that Mercury will be retrograde as well, March 14 to April 7th.
Wow.
And that rules communication, teaching, talking, traveling, and baseball season. I just realized opening day and beginning of baseball season will have Mercury retrograde, so might be a few delays in travel here and there.
Okay.
So we'll expect that.
So you're not just an astrologist, but you're almost a meteorologist, talking about delays in travel and whatnot. Look at you, the dual threat.
Well, you know, astrologers can be quite eclectic. We like to, how shall I say, get a lot of information from a lot of different sources.
Fair enough.
And, you know, that said, just may the sports gods and goddesses bless, fire. How do you say his name? Feinstein?
John Feinstein. John Feinstein, yes.
Yeah, July 28, 1956.
Yeah.
And Leos are super creative.
Right.
And I remember his writings. They had that kind of dynamic, majestic, creative, dramatic quality to them.
Sure.
And, that's very Leo. It's like the king of the zodiac. So he really exuded that energy, and it will very much be missed. So that was, he got a lot of nice tributes, and that was something I definitely wanted to, like you said very nicely, give him his flowers. Your, Pisces, Aries energy are very nice at memorializing
Thanks,
people.
And Andrea, I know you've listened to the radio for quite some time,
Yes.
and I know that you listen to other stations than just us. And the reality is, the landscape of our business, and look, it is very rare when any company lasts more than 5 years in general, not just in entertainment, not just in sports radio. And we've lasted 13, and we owe a debt of gratitude to those people that laid the foundation, especially on the airwaves, that were compelling, that were prepared, that put in the work, that put in the time. And John Feinstein, he's one of our founding hosts, and he had a tremendous impact on this place. And the sports minutes that he used to give, they were a piece of art. They really were. They were so concise. They were so poignant. They were so well researched. And he had a big role in this place. And who knows the direction we would have gone if we didn't have the names of Jim Rome early on, and John Feinstein and Damon Amendola and Scott Farrell and Amy Lawrence and Jody Mack. So this place owes a huge tip of the microphone to John Feinstein, and I'm glad we're doing that.
Yes, no, well said. And I've been on several of the shows, Damon, Amy Lawrence a couple of times, and it's just one of those pioneering energies that kind of stood the test of time. And I saw your tweet about how he helped you get on the show. And, we don't have a lot of mentors these days. So it's very few and far between. And he was a very rare breed and will be missed. And,
well said.
We'll carry on, but it'll be very, with a heavy heart that will acknowledge this pioneering, dramatic, energetic Leo and all he did for the business.
Yeah, no, Andrea, that's so well said, and you're a history expert as well, because I know you know so much about what we do, the ins and outs of it, and I always appreciate your perspective. You have a good rest of your Saturday, Andrea. We'll talk soon, and thank you for the kind words.
Yes, you too. Take good care.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for the information, as always. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. Let's get to Anthony in San Francisco. Anthony, thanks for the patience, man. How you doing, and what you got for us, sir?
Shep, I am doing well. I love Andrea. I love her a lot. But I do want to say one thing about Mercury being in retrograde. Do you know what Mercury being in retrograde means, Shep?
No, I do not. I'm not going to lie to you, Anthony. I'm not.
Okay. Let me
Listen, when you get Andrea calls, you just know some of the things she says is going to go over your head, and you just got to nod and just go along with it and just hope that other people understand 1,000% what she's saying, because I don't all the time. Andrea is brilliant, but there's language and jargon she uses that I don't necessarily understand because it's astrology. But she's been doing this forever, and she was calling in at basically the beginning of our network, and I will always give her that platform to do so. So, yes.
She is so unbelievably good and thorough, but there's one thing I have beef with, not with her.
Okay,
because
there's a rule on this show. You can say whatever you want about me, but you can't go after Andrea in Berkeley.
No, I'm not going after Andrea. I'm not going after Andrea. Mercury in retrograde, it just means that it switched its orbit. So it looks like it's going the other. It's like if you're watching a NASCAR race and they're going right and then they turn left.
By the way, speaking of NASCAR race, have you seen that F1 trailer with Brad Pitt?
I know, but I heard it's amazing.
It looks so good. It looks so good. And by the way, Brad Pitt makes 60 look 30. So I guess 60 is the new 30. But Anthony, see that trailer, man.
The celebrities, they have money, so they always look a little younger than they should. Shep, I'm getting off topic. I want to talk about Steph Curry. You went after him a little bit your last segment. That's okay.
Yeah.
I forgive you. It's all right. But here in the Bay Area, what we're talking about a lot right now the last couple of days, there's this Steph surgeons. He had a 50-point game. He had a 40-point game.
Yep.
He just hit 4,000 threes. Bay Area Mount Rushmore, and it got me to thinking. The Bay Area, it's got
Willie, Barry,
Steph. You got Willie,
yep.
Barry, Joe, Ricky. But does San Francisco have the best collection of Mount Rushmore athletes of anywhere in the country?
That's a good question. By the way, who's Joe? There's a lot of Joes. Who's Joe?
Montana.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay, okay. So we're talking all. Got it. We're talking all sport. Listen, if you're gonna put Joe in there, you got to put Jerry in there too.
Joe, Jerry, Barry, Willie, Ricky, Steph. I mean, it might be the best region in the country.
Yep. Listen. Don't forget about
might be there.
And don't forget about Reggie.
Yeah. Reggie started here
way back in the day. And then, three World Series in the 70s.
And if you want to go college, John Elway played here at Stanford. Bill Russell played
Bill Russell back in '56, winning back-to-back national titles. Absolutely, with teammate Casey Jones.
Undefeated.
Yes. Good reference. San Francisco's up there. By the way, let me just say this. Steph Curry is unbelievable. He continues to defy logic. No one thought reaching 3,000 was possible when Ray Allen fell short of that. Steph might get to 5,000. I'm not taking anything away from Steph. What I do want to be careful about, Anthony, is just be like, and we're going to see this because Kevin Durant eventually is going to pass Dirk. He's going to pass Wilt. He's going to pass Kobe. He's going to pass MJ. He's probably going to pass everybody except for LeBron. And I don't want us to be confused and be prisoners of the moment. Kevin Durant's not a top 10 player either. Like, they're all-time greats. Steph is an all-time great. All-time great. Steph is one of the greatest players to ever live, but he's not top 10. You have to – because here's what happens, Anthony. When you do top 10 lists, you end up having 16 guys. That's not a top 10. You know what I mean? So if you just look at the top 10, he's not better than Kobe. He's not better than Larry. He's not better than Magic. He's not better than Duncan. He's not better than Shaq. He's not better than MJ, LeBron, Kareem. That's the top 10.
The thing that I think works in Steph's favor, and you mentioned a bunch of guys.
Yes. Well, more than a bunch of guys, a bunch of legends, but yes.
A bunch of legends, all-timers. The way that we played basketball one way, and then Stephen Curry came along, and we played basketball a completely different way. I love Kobe. I love Karl Malone. I love KD. I love all the guys you just named.
I didn't mention Karl Malone. I didn't mention KD. Right.
They did not.
But Anthony, but if we look at
Stephen Curry,
I get it. But then you have to credit Bob Cousy because Bob Cousy created the inside-out dribble. He created the behind-the-back pass. He changed the game. You have to look at someone like Jerry West, who really he was the first guy that was able to shoot from a long range and actually shoot a jump shot. He doesn't get the credit. So yes, the impact of Steph Curry is immense, and he did change the game. But there were so many others that changed the game. Wilt Chamberlain changed the game because he had to outlaw dunking in college. Same with Kareem. You couldn't allow dunking in college because of how dominant he was. So you had to develop a mid-range game. You talk about mid-range game. Look at someone like Shaq, how he influenced the game, right? There was no such thing as intentional fouling before Shaq came involved because he was that dominant. You had to do something to make him miss because he couldn't come at the 10 because Shaq was an automatic 2 from 5 feet in. But that's a great point. Anthony, I wish I could talk to you more about this, but I will say this just very quickly. If you talk about some place like New York, you have Ruth, you have obviously Lawrence Taylor, those are guys, DiMaggio, Mantle. You obviously want to include Gretzky because he played in New York. If you want to talk L.A., you have Gretzky, you have Magic, you have Kareem, you have Kobe, you have Marcus Allen when he played for the Raiders in Los Angeles. And then obviously if you want to talk baseball, you got Jackie, you got Sandy. So this is a great conversation. Anthony, on a slow day in the summer, I'm going to have this topic because it's brilliant.
I love it. Have a good night, Chef.
Thanks, Anthony. Good to hear from you, man. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. When we get back, we're going to continue to take your calls. And at the top of the hour, there was an NBA statement made by LA, and it was a good thing. And it was without LeBron, it was without Rui, it was without, of course, Luka Doncic. What that is, we'll get to at the top. We'll get to your calls on the other side. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Chef, a Super Bowl MVP has found himself a new home as Cooper Kupp reportedly goes to the Seahawks on a 3-year deal at $45 million. Washington native goes back home and gives Sam Darnold a new weapon. This after the departures of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. College hoops, Duke up 19 at the half, but typical of this rivalry with North Carolina, it was still a nail-biter, and this one had an interesting finish.
The second one is on the way. It's a lane violation. He made it, but Withers stepped in the lane. It's a turnover, and the Blue Devil lead stands 72-71 with 4.1 to go. Withers got an early start, and the Blue Devils still lead by 1.
A lane violation helping Duke withstand North Carolina 74-71 despite not having Cooper Flagg. Call courtesy of the Blue Devils radio network from Learfield. Duke will now see Louisville in the ACC Finals. They upended Clemson 76-73. In the SEC, Alabama dominated Kentucky 99-70. Florida rocked Missouri 95-81. Auburn withstood Ole Miss 62-57. Tennessee bounced Texas 83-72. Big 12, Houston pounded BYU 74-54, while Arizona surprised Texas Tech 86-80. In the Big 10, Michigan thumped Purdue 86-68. Michigan State too much for Oregon 74-64. Wisconsin overpowered UCLA 86-70. Maryland disposed of Illinois 88-65. And in the Big East, St. John's ripped Marquette 79-63. And Creighton knocked off UConn 71-62. Iowa's fired their head coach, and Fran McCaffrey, after 15 seasons. He leaves the school as the all-time wins leader at 297. Checking the NBA, where the Cavs' win streak now stands at 16. They finished off the Grizzlies 133-124, behind 22 points and 11 rebounds from Evan Mobley. T-Wolves down the Magic 118-111, Anthony Edwards at 28. Celtics roll the Heat 103-91. Nuggets withstood the Lakers 131-126. LA without both LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Pacers drilled the Sixers 112-100. Clippers rocked the Hawks 121-98. Hornets outscored the Spurs 145-134. Suns no problems with the Kings 122-106. Devin Booker at 22. Raptors handled the Jazz 126-118, and the Rockets pound the Mavericks 133-96. I'm Marco Belletti.
Looking for non-stop sports talk? Tune in to the Infinity Sports Network, live 24/7 on SiriusXM 158, YouTube, and the Odyssey app.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good evening, David. Always great to talk to you, and your analysis of things is so good and so right on.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. Let's get back to the busy phone lines. Let's get to Dakota in Jacksonville. Dakota, good morning, man. What you got for us, sir?
Hey, Shep, how we doing, man?
Good, Dakota. How are you? So, Dakota in Jacksonville. That's an interesting combination, by the way.
Yeah, dude, you'd be surprised at the questions I get for this name, bro. Make you almost lose your salvation trying to respond to these people.
I hear you. Well, you sound like you do it in good spirit all the time, man. So, what you got for us, Dakota? Yes, sir.
No. So, first off, man, first time caller, man. I listen to your show all the time.
Welcome.
Dude, you are probably the most articulate person I've ever listened to. Your knowledge from generation over generation, unparalleled, man. I've never heard somebody just your conversations about people with basketball. You're spitting out things from people that are playing from black and white television. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what you know is unreal. And I know you guys were talking about basketball before.
Yep.
I can't talk about basketball. I don't know. I can't play. I'm short. I'm thick. I'm white. There's no basketball in me.
Gotcha.
But Shaq was the guy, so I'll go a Laker fan. So that is what it is. The reason I'm calling, though, man, I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan. Lot of talk lately about, like, what are they going to do offensively, right? So they're talking about, originally it was, we want DK. Then it was, we want Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
I mean, they're all these big names that are available.
Sure.
We've done, I feel like, a pretty good job on the defensive side so far in free agency. But I mean, what do you think in your expertise? Where does Denver need to go?
They got to get a number. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, look, Cortland Sutton, right? Here's what you got to ask yourself: is he truly a number one receiver? And I would ask you that as someone that has watched him his whole career. He's been there now for going on 8 years. So, is he a number one receiver? I don't think so.
In Denver?
Yeah.
Sure. In Denver?
No. He is. Yes.
Anywhere else, he's the number two.
Yes. No, he is the number one receiver in Denver. That's why I'm asking you. But is he a number one receiver? Obviously, by default, he's the number one receiver because Mims ain't it, right? So, but that's where to me, Bo Nix is going to take that next step, right? Why did Kirk Cousins have the best years of his career in Minnesota and not Atlanta? Well, he played with Justin Jefferson. That took him to the next level. Now, Joe Burrow's great, but it helps having T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Patrick Mahomes is great, but he's got a number one in Travis Kelce. I don't know if Kelce is number one anymore, but he was a number one for quite some time. Denver does not have
Not
a number
after
one
that Super
receiver.
Bowl.
No. Now, listen, he was a number one against Houston, but in the AFC title game and Super Bowl, he wasn't even a number 2 or 3. But that's what's going to be the difference with this team. Now, I do not like Sean Payton as a person, but damn, did he do a good coaching job in 2024.
Unreal. I mean, I think what he did, I mean, everyone's like, oh, he's going to fix Russell Wilson. I think everybody in the world knew that was crap. They were going to clash heads immediately.
And they did. He cut his ass before the season ended.
Yeah, it was, I think, hiring Sean Payton. Sean in that interview probably said, listen, I'll come here. You're going to pay me what I want to get paid. We're going to do the trade. Wilson's got to go. And they said, sure thing. But, I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think Troy Franklin moves into that number one role eventually? Or, I mean, maybe in the draft, do you think we do that, or do we go free agency?
I think you got to go free agency. I mean, Franklin's he just turned 22 years old, right? So there's not enough to go by. And then you have, Estime, that's somebody that I don't really look a whole lot at, someone that obviously is just 21 years old. So they got some youth on this team. Obviously that's more the running back position, but you got to get a number one receiver. You were thinking it was going to be someone like Metcalf. You were thinking maybe potentially Higgins, because I don't know if Cincinnati was really giving him the love that he wanted. But it looks like that's actually going to come to fruition where he does end up back with Cincinnati. That's the biggest problem. But here's the thing. Anytime you got a quarterback that is in the same year as Jaden Daniels, and he's making an argument why he could actually be the better quarterback long term, you got the number one position right. And that you got to feel good about for years to come with Bo Nix. Now you just got to have the necessary pieces around it. But Dakota, I wish I could talk to you longer. We're up against it. I appreciate you calling, man. Call back more often. Have a good rest of your morning, okay?
Hey, I will. Thanks, Shep. Have a great day, man.
Thanks, Dakota. I appreciate the kind words, man. You know what's up next? We'll give some love to the Lakers, because they almost beat Denver without LeBron, without Luka. That's next. The Good Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you can lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day.
Back to the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. Now, we spent a good chunk of the show, first 2 hours, talking about college basketball. And it is an exciting time, not just because, of the NCAA tournament, but you also have this incredible intensity and the gravitas that comes with conference championship tournaments as well. And you see the Michigan States and the Dukes and the Auburns and the Floridas and the Alabamas separate themselves. A team that's not separated themselves is UConn. Surprising, because Dan Hurley shunned the Lakers to come back to UConn and three-peat. He will not do that. What he should have been doing is coaching the Lakers against the Denver Nuggets. That's something we also saw take place on Friday. And I got to give the Lakers all the credit in the world. Not only are they missing LeBron with the groin, Luka with injury load management, but they're also missing Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Gabe Vincent. And it still took a Jamal Murray three-point shot with 6 seconds to go to ultimately clinch this game and come out on top. And then shout out to Russell Westbrook with that amazing defensive play that he had. And you talk about the Lakers' next man up mentality. Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect. I'm glad Dalton wasn't traded, combining for 69 points. And you're playing in Denver with that altitude. And you're coming up just shy of a team who many people have representing the West in the NBA Finals. I know it's rough because the Lakers were at a 2 seed less than a week ago, and now they find themselves in the 5th seed after this 4-game losing streak, with LeBron missing the last 3+ games with a groin injury. Lakers are going to be just fine. Now, as long as they don't face Denver in the playoffs, they will win a round. I know it's crushing that you're playing as well as anybody in the NBA. You see the absolute joy and the bounce in the step of LeBron James playing alongside Luka Doncic, the most talented offensive player he's ever played with in his career. But unfortunately, when you're 40 years old, you're 22 years into your professional career, you got all the international experience, all the deep playoff runs, eventually the body is going to take a hit. Not that it's going to break down, but it's going to slow down at some point. Unfortunately, it came at the wrong time for LA as they're jockeying for that 2 seed. I do not see that happening. I do not anticipate that taking place. What I do anticipate taking place is the Lakers playing hard no matter what. And I don't know if you could have always said that about a LeBron James Lakers team. You can say that playing for J.J. Redick. You see it. And I know J.J. was not exactly the most happy camper after the game. You can't blame him because he's coaching with half his guys out there. His 2 best players are out. You have Gabe Vincent out, Rui Hachimura out, who I believe is their 4th best player. I put Austin Reeves number 3 at this point. But shout out to the Lakers, man, for making this competitive. And if you're Denver, you got to be scratching your head thinking to yourself, how in the hell did we allow a Lakers-less LeBron, Luka, Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe team to get within 2 possessions of us? And it took Jamal Murray heroics in order to get this win. Mike Malone, you know he was not happy after this win. You got to be able to pull away from the shorthanded Lakers. Denver was not able to do that. So if there's a crummy feeling after a win, this would be it. And if there is a good feeling to have after a loss, if there is such thing as a moral victory, you know the Lakers can get the job done with pretty much anybody they put out there, including their best players missing from the game. So shout out to the Lakers for making this game competitive. Now, Jamal Murray, he saw the bright side of this particular win in the way they've been playing. Let's take a listen.
I think chemistry is going all over the place, and it's not just me and him. I think CB and him have a great relationship. Him and Russ. Me and P-Wall keep getting better. I think we're all just kind of using the time of these unfortunate injuries to kind of get guys, used to playing with one another. So, yeah, I mean, it was good to figure it out and get the win. Most importantly, to be honest.
All right, so that's a pretty upbeat, positive Denver Nugget after this win, even though it was narrow. Mike Malone, don't call him Michael. Mike Malone, the Nuggets head coach, kind of a different tune.
This isn't a beauty pageant. We don't get rated on our wins. It's a win. Obviously, a lot of things what we can be better at. The rebounding, 19 for 20 points, a huge concern. We gave them another 19 off our turnovers. So that's 39 points we allowed just off of offensive rebounds and turnovers. Another game where in the first quarter where we just came in the game, showed up and kind of tried to ease our way into it, and they jumped all over us. And that's a recipe for disaster. We can't do that. We have to approach the game with urgency. So good win. We're down 3 with 52 seconds to go. We close out 8-0. Some really good late game execution, shot making, got some timely stops, but give them credit. They played their hearts out, and they made this a game.
Yeah, and they made it a game because, J.J. Redick, he speaks the language of players in 2025. He knows how to get through to them. He understands all the formulas, all the play calling that comes with the NBA, the high pick and roll, understanding the drag screen, understand how to play pick and pop, obviously knowing how important it is to not just create identity from the outside, be able to play off the dribble, something JJ couldn't necessarily do in his NBA career, could do it to some extent at Duke. But I got to give him credit, man. He's really coached this Lakers team well in his first year. I was not rooting for him, not because I dislike JJ, because I dislike how he got the job. And listen, speaking of guys who deserve a little bit of credit, how about Bronny? 5 points, 16 minutes off the bench, 2 offensive rebounds at 6'2". Not bad for a guy picked 55th overall. I'm not just speaking positively and glowingly about him because he's LeBron James' son and I don't want LeBron James running up on me. I'm really saying for a 55th overall pick, he actually looked okay. So he's getting better. He is. Still don't know if he should be in the NBA, but to go out there for 16 minutes, score 5 points, grab 2 offensive rebounds at a generously listed 6'2", shout out to Bronny. Hey, JJ, how you feeling after this really heartfelt, hard-fought loss?
I'm proud of the group for
their level of fight and resiliency, particularly not getting off to a great start there in the second half. Our transition defense was pretty bad from the first 6 minutes on. And then, fighting back and taking the lead. There's a lot we could have done better, but the group competed tonight and gave ourselves a chance to win.
The Lakers are so important to the NBA, and I'm not saying anything that you don't know already. You understand the Lakers are a Tiffany brand. They are, to me, the biggest NBA franchise. They don't have the most championships. The Celtics have one up on them, but they are the most notable. They are the most recognizable. They are the marquee franchise. 5 million people tuned in to see the Lakers versus the Celtics last Saturday. That's the most watched NBA regular season game in primetime in the last 7 years. So I don't want to hear, well, the NBA is getting boring and stale because it's just a 3-point track meet. That's not true. There is more interest in the NBA than in the past decade. You just heard me tell you, Lakers Celtics, the most watched regular season game in the last 7 years. So clearly the NBA is doing something right. Clearly, what you saw on Friday with the Lakers when they had no reason to be in it with Denver, they had no reason to make that game competitive, and they did just that. Shout out to LA. Shout out to JJ Redick. Shout out to AR, a.k.a. Austin Reeves. Shout out to Dalton Connect. And shout out to Bronny James.
JJ was a bit of a controversial hire. You kind of hinted at it, and it feels like he's having a good first season.
He's having a really good first season. I don't like it. I don't like how he got the job, but I can't deny the impact and the imprint he's made on this franchise. Now, I will say this. He better get to a Western Conference Finals because you did fire a guy who in just 2 years did make a Western Conference Finals, and then the next year did get beat in the first round. But in fairness, it's been a bad matchup for them, and it was against the reigning defending champion. So they better make sure that JJ has this kind of success and has these guys playing together and locked in the regular season when they look forward in a month from now from the playoffs. What they have to hope is that they don't fall to that 7-8 seed, because then you got that extra game and you're stuck playing either Denver or OKC.
It does feel like the depth of the West is going to get somebody, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, but you hope it's not LA because it's bad. It's bad for business when they're not in the playoffs. It just is. It's bad for business when Steph Curry's not in the playoffs. Kevin Durant, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, like you need your superstars in the finals. And I don't mean any disrespect to Luka because I think Luka is certainly a superstar, but I do think it has hurt the NBA that LeBron has not been in the finals the last 5 years. It does hurt the NBA that Draymond and Clay, obviously this isn't possible because he's with Dallas now, but it does hurt that Steph is not there as well. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. That is 855-212-4227. Are you concerned about Denver, or are you more encouraged by LA from what you saw take place in a 5-point loss to the Nuggets without LeBron, without Luka, without Rui, without Gabe, and without Dury and Finney-Smith? Let's get back to the phone lines, 855-212-4227. Okay, Greg, I got a question for you. When you screened this guy who I'm about to take, how long did it take to say, thank you, Beck, I'll put you forward, stay patient? Like, how long was that conversation?
That was at least a minute.
Okay. So you don't have to put anything under the topic because he will never, ever follow through with what he's telling you he's going to say. Okay. He's going to come up with something completely different, and then he's going to talk about how he didn't get to this particular topic. And
keeping
he's
you
get to
on
this
your
topic.
toes.
Oh, he very well takes me on my toes. You got that right. But that's good about Beck, and we love Beck on the Infinity Sports Network. How you doing, buddy? How do you like that introduction?
Hey, what's going on? Thank you. What's up, Greg, on the decks? Hopefully you're not from Michigan. I mean, I tried to tell him, but,
I am not from Michigan.
But how about that blood moon last night, especially for us vampires? Was that Neil deGrasse after Andrea on the phone?
I don't know. But apparently, the Mercury retrograde, whatever that is, apparently we're learning astrology by the hour. So that's what you get on the Good Shepherd, Beck.
And speaking of basketball, but again, just a quick turn from last week's convo about QBs and my Raiders. How about my other team, the Colts? thanks for spending that money on some other bum from Duke.
He is. I'm gonna, Beck. I might get into that this hour. The quarterback signings: Darnold, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. To me, without question, the most upside is JF. Now he's going to an incompetent franchise, but you did see what he looked like when he played for Pittsburgh. Now imagine what he's going to look like when he's not looking over his shoulder to get stabbed in the back and replaced in the middle of the season the way he did Russell Wilson. Not that Wilson even figuratively stabbed in the back, but I'm obviously saying that tongue-in-cheek. Russell, he's doing his job. He's trying to be the starter as well. So I don't fault Russell for that. But Justin Fields has that starter job secure. So he's not going to be playing with any trepidation. And then Daniel Jones, man. I mean, the dude went, 2-10? Like, the guy who did what he did against Minnesota, that guy's far gone.
Yeah, I told a guy, my Dolphins guy tonight and everything, I said, and I mentioned that. I was like, regardless of the draft picks, I wouldn't even taken Justin Fields with the Raiders without giving a draft pick, even though he's kind of poop as well. But I rather, because what's the Jets going to do? But then I told him, I said, your Dolphins GM and everything came out in the offseason and says, we need a good backup because of Tua and everything, because, something that, and what did they do? Go with another Jets quarterback, Wilson,
I hear you loud and clear, Beck. So, Beck, let's do something we never do. Let's actually stick to what you want to talk about. Give me your biggest impressions so far of the conference tournaments in college basketball.
All right, so back to basketball and Duke, Daniel Jones. They got lucky tonight, and obviously I don't think they're even going to come close to maybe the Final Four or winning it all. And but tomorrow, Zona in my H-Town, should be a good game. Let's go for 2 titles, H-Town. And we know my other 2 schools aren't going to even make the tournament. But one of them losing today to their old head coach, hook 'em horns, but don't count out Tennessee.
Okay. Listen, man, I love the job that Barnes has done there. It's funny you talk about Tennessee. Dalton Connect, man. I mean, he really put them back on the map with his year last year, and it's great to see him transition into the NBA the way that he has. I'm excited for college basketball. Beck, I know you're a student of the game, man, and just I was talking about this with Greg, in the newsroom for a little bit.
From Michigan or this Greg?
This Greg. This Greg. Greg has not been on the show. Oh shit, baby! I gotta tell you, that was my best Greg from Michigan impression. When you talk about like the old heads in college basketball, the Tom Izzos, the Rick Pitino's, the Bill Self, you got to credit Izzo for really coaching this team, and they're still at the top of their game. You look at Pitino getting the Johnnies to the Big East Championship final for the first time in a quarter century. The guy's on the Tonight Show, and this isn't the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It's with the half-talented Jimmy Fallon. I get that. Okay, he's a good impressionist. Sorry. But the point is, like, the turnaround that he has done with St. John's in just 2 years' time, to do this in his early to mid-70s, and being able to connect with kids that are 55 years his junior, I don't know if enough is being said and enough praise is being disseminated towards the direction of Rick Pitino. Because to me, Beck, along with Cooper Flagg, Pitino's been the story in college basketball this year.
Oh, of course. I mean, St. John's back on the map. I totally even forgot I was going to even throw that into the mix. Of course, I talked to you and threw out Felipe Lopez years ago when you were back on JR, I think. But
that's right. Felipe Lopez, he was the best player in the country. I believe it was 90. I want to say 92 because he was drafted in 96 from the Johnnies, right? Was it 96 or 98? I'm pretty sure it was 96. But I remember Felipe Lopez, man. I remember how much he meant to Hispanic culture. Yeah, it's 90. Okay, 98.
He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, too, I think.
I always thought he was 96 for some reason. But he was the man in high school. And that was the class. Because Marbury, if I remember correctly, Marbury was in that class, I believe, because Marbury came out early from Georgia Tech. I think Iverson might have been in that class as well. Anyways, Felipe Lopez is such an underrated basketball player. And he meant so much to those from the Dominican Republic, and he meant so much to those in New York City. And he was a local legend. I wish his career was a little better in the NBA, but great guy. Never thought I'd be talking Felipe Lopez on the Good Shepherd on March 15th, 2025.
There's a lot of things we never know.
There you go, brother. There you go. But it's good.
Real quick with that, have you ever been to a St. John's game?
I have,
or
yeah.
especially
I have.
this season with them doing so great with Pitino?
Not this season, because I'm working 7 days a week, so I don't have an opportunity to really venture out. I know Zach Gelb. He did a press conference with Rick Pitino. He gave a really good clip on Pitino's answer for the stars that they have now. So that was great to see. I think
Do they always play at Madison Square Garden, or is that just recently? Because they're in Jamaica, Queens?
Yeah, that's a recent thing, because again, besides Mike Jarvis, the last 30 years, who have they won with? They weren't
Not
winning.
Chris Mullin.
I was just about to say that. Listen, they were winning with Mullin the player back in the days of Mark Jackson, Bill Wennington in the 80s with the late great Lou Carnesecca, but they weren't winning with him as a head coach. Now Chris Mullin's busy in 3-point competitions with Baron Davis, Mitch Richmond, and obviously who's Tim Hardaway, Run TMC. So yeah, he was not the answer, but it does highlight and really crystallize the impact of Rick Pitino. Greg asked me a good question in the newsroom. He said, "Is Rick Pitino on your Mount Rushmore?" And I was thinking about that more, when he went back into the control room, and I was thinking, well, who's there? You got to put John Wooden there. Any single Mount Rushmore list starts with John Wooden. You got to put Coach K there. I know Coach K lost a lot of big games. I don't think people talk enough about that. He lost a lot of games that he shouldn't have. But still,
Florida State,
right?
Okay,
but still, the 12, the 12 Final Fours, the 5 national titles. Coach K has to be there, and then it gets interesting. Is it Adolph Rupp? Is it Dean Smith? Is it Bobby Knight? Is it somebody like Jay Wright? Does Jay Wright get in that conversation? Jim Calhoun, should he be in that conversation? So that's where it gets interesting. You can absolutely make a case for Rick Pitino being on the Mount Rushmore. The problem is the one national title works against him. I don't know if you can put someone on that Mount Rushmore with just one title when multiple, and when I say multiple, when double-digit coaches have won 2 titles. Billy Donovan has won 2 titles. Dan Hurley has won 2 titles.
Shep, to follow up on this, I am curious. I think a very interesting layer in this conversation is how do you weigh somebody who is an institution at one program, Coach K, Calhoun,
sure,
versus...
Well, Calhoun was at Northeastern.
That's
and then
correct.
He coached at St. Joseph's.
And Coach K was at Army, too.
And Coach K was at Army for,
yes,
for
that's
6.
True.
Knight was there, I believe, for 6, and Coach K was there for 5.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Knight finished at Texas Tech. But I guess the point
That's like
that
Jordan playing for the Wizards, by the way.
Yes,
no one remembers Bobby Knight at Texas
Tech. Right. But I think the interesting question here is when you look at the real prime of their careers.
Yeah.
Do you look at the guys that are mostly known for the one program, Izzo, obviously, or is it more impressive if you go to other programs? And I mentioned it to you in the newsroom, and I confirmed it. Pitino is the only coach in the history of the sport to take 3 different programs to a Final Four.
Yeah.
Of course, Roy Williams won at Kansas.
Well, again, Greg, that was that stat that you're giving us is accurate, but that was a long time ago too. He's done more since.
Sure.
Because you look at what he's done at Manhattan. You look at what he's done at St. John's. Excuse me, Iona. And then you look at what he's done at St. John's.
Right.
But
UMass.
What's that? As a player, Beck. But and you can talk about
as a coach. He took like Greg was saying with the thing I saw that he's gone and built up multiple.
Yeah, this
programs.
and it's funny because when you talk about the NBA, and this guy never gets his due. Never gets his due. Yes, Phil Jackson did it in multiple places. Pat Riley did it in multiple places. But Greg Popovich did it in one place. But how about a guy that made the Clippers relevant, made the Spurs relevant, made the 76ers relevant, made the Pacers relevant, made the Pistons relevant, won them their only championship in the last quarter century? You know who I'm talking about? You talk about building programs.
I know.
You know who I'm talking about. Do you know who I'm talking about, Beck?
I was thinking the Celtic, the Clippers, but no. Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers is more known for blowing Game 7s than anything else. I'm talking about a guy that was able to be a great ABA player, played at North Carolina. He's still with us, and he brought franchises to relevance out of the ashes. And he did it everywhere he went. And then when he started winning, he wanted the next challenge. You know what I'm talking about? Coached AI.
Allen Iverson?
He coached Allen Iverson. I can't give you any more hints, Beck.
No, you're asking me. No, I already knew that. I didn't know this answer. No.
Okay, well, I'll tell you off the air. Beck, good to hear from you as always, brother. Thank you,
You guys
man.
all have a good one.
Thanks, Beck. You do the same. You know who it is, Greg. It, of course, is Larry
Brown. I grew up with the 2001 Sixers.
Great team. Great team. We always talk about the 2007 Cavaliers being the worst team to ever make an NBA Finals. Well, listen, I love Dikembe Mutombo. R.I.P. Dikembe Mutombo. I love him. But Dikembe Mutombo was the second best player on that team, and he was well past his prime at that point. Well past his prime.
No, that's, for sure.
He might have been in his late 30s because Dikembe played a long time, and he started late. He started late at Georgetown. He was like a rookie at 25 years old. So by the time he got to the 76ers, he was like 36 years old, and he was their second best player. And who else was going to give you offense besides AI? It wasn't Eric Snow. It wasn't Aaron McKee.
Yeah, I mean, I think McKee won the Sixth Man of the Year that year.
I understand that, but was he going to give you offense in the NBA playoffs?
I get it. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Iverson basically won Game 1 of that series on his own.
48 points?
Yeah.
And the famous step over Tyronn Lue,
absolutely.
which is still in his nightmares. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. When we get back, we know you have opinions on Lakers, Nuggets, and, to Greg's point, Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches. But speaking of Mount Rushmore, if you had to come up with a Mount Rushmore of greatest receiving single seasons of all time, this individual, what he was able to do in 2021 has to be there. But apparently, when you aren't at that top form for the next couple years because of injuries, you get essentially shown the door by your franchise. Well, it's a good thing Seattle knows his worth because apparently LA did not. Who that receiver is, I think you know who it is. We'll get to that on the other side. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network, and we're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach, good morning. What do you have for us from our nation's capital?
First of all, good morning, Chef. I get a chance to listen to you every Friday and Saturday night because I work overtime. I have a lot of fun listening to you, man. You're well seasoned. Keep up the good work. Stay very humble and grateful for all the knowledge that you have to share with us.
This is the Good Shepherd. 855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us. The Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. If you are listening to the sound of my voice, you know I'm a fan of SNL. But if you want comedy on Saturday, you don't always have to turn to NBC to do that. Just turn to our YouTube chat. You will find some of the most outlandish, silliest, but comical commentary you will find in any show. If I watch the chat or listen to the comments, I just can't help but crack up because they're just all over the place, and we love those guys, you know, Daly and Bobby and Alan and Quinn, and I see all y'all, Andrea. You know, obviously it's just great to have you guys, you know, on that chat. It's just a different dimension to the show, and you know, Peter Dragon and James Wells and you know, General Bob Custer. It's you know, it's just great to have you as part of our show as well, and know that your voice matters just as much as anybody that's calling the show as well, including Beck, who's probably still having a conversation with someone about the wackiest sports topic you can possibly think of. Now, speaking of wacky sports topics, I didn't think that the Rams had such little value placed upon Cooper Kupp. I really didn't. I don't understand why they would want to trade Cooper Kupp. But that's, you know, apparently part of their agenda is to get the most value they can from him, seeing that he's had a down year, even though in that down year he played 12 games, still had nearly 1,000 receiving yards, had over 60 receptions, and by the way, had 6 receiving touchdowns. Pretty good for a guy that missed 1/3 of the season, if you ask me. I know he's been derailed by injuries the last 3 years, only managing 33 games, but it's still freaking Cooper Kupp. That 2021 season he had, when he had 145 receptions, 1,947 receiving yards, and 16 receiving touchdowns, was not only good enough to do something that's rare in football, win the Triple Crown as a receiver, but he was Offensive Player of the Year, and then goes on to have, I believe it was 8 catches, 2 reception touchdowns, and over 100 receiving yards, happens to win the Super Bowl MVP. The guy has such a track record with that franchise. He has been relatively consistent before injuries, and then you send him out the door because his body couldn't hold up for a few games. It's football. And I know Kelly Stafford was really angered by that because, to her point, nobody gave the Eagles any kind of competition in the postseason except for the Rams. And Cooper Kupp was a big part of that. So I don't love this move if you're the Rams. I do love this for Seattle because you needed to do something about replacing Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and you certainly did that in the form of Kupp as he, played at Eastern Washington, grew up, outside of Seattle. So this is essentially a homecoming for him. He's going to be making $45 million. I love this move if you are the Seahawks.
Feels like more of a retool than a rebuild in Seattle, right?
Fair enough. Yeah. And listen, the reality is you are getting someone in this individual that is ready to prove the Rams wrong. And he will. Because his body couldn't hold up for a season, you know what his ceiling is. He's not done. He hasn't lost a step. He's just been injured. It's football. But you love the addition of what he's going to bring to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and obviously Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They got some studs to go along with Sam Darnold, who's going to need all the help he can get, by the way, because he's not going to be playing in a system devised by Kevin O'Connell that's going to win him 14 regular season games. So I like this move a lot for Seattle. Are they going to be playing in Super Bowls anytime soon like they did back-to-back in 2014, in 2015? Hell no. But it is going to help them be more competitive in the regular season. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. That is 855-212-4227. How do you feel about the Rams' decision to part ways with Cooper Kupp, and how big of an impact do you ultimately see him having for Seattle in 2025? Again, the last thing you want to do to any great athlete is make them feel like they're not wanted, because they always have an extra gear. You will see that play out in 2025 with the 2021 Super Bowl MVP in Cooper Kupp. We're going to take your calls on that on the other side. I know some people want to weigh in on their team's offseason so far. We're going to do that as well. Again, number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. If you cannot find me on the phone, you don't have access to a dial, just hit us up on our YouTube chat. Hilarious. Or you can always hit me up on social media at Shep on Air on Twitter /X or Instagram. Before we take your calls, before we talk about more in terms of not Cooper Flag, but Cooper Kupp, a lot of Coopers going on in sports these days. Let's get to our latest Sports Flash on the Infinity Sports Network. Here is Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Chef Cooper Kupp is headed home. Washington native reportedly gets a 3-year deal, $45 million to join the Seahawks, helping out their new $100 million quarterback in Sam Darnold. Meanwhile, Myles Garrett requested a trade out of Cleveland because he wanted to win a Super Bowl. Well, things change after a $160 million new contract. So now that he's still a Brown, what will it take to make them a Super Bowl contender?
It's going to take everything. And whatever it takes, I'm willing to give. I want to be a winner. I want to bring a championship back to Cleveland. So whether that's going out and recruiting, whether that's staying late, that's mentoring the young guys, just whatever it takes.
Take a look at the NBA, where the Cavs' win streak is 16. Finished the Grizzlies 133-124. Evan Mobley, 22 points, 11 rebounds. Lakers dropped their fourth straight, 131-126 to the Nuggets. LA was minus both LeBron James and Luka Doncic. T-Wolves down the Magic, 118-111. Anthony Edwards at 28. Celtics roll the Heat, 103-91. Pacers drill the Sixers, 112-100. Clippers rock the Hawks, 121-98. Hornets outscored the Spurs, 145-134. Suns had no problems with the Kings, 122-106. And Devin Booker, 22 points, 13 assists. Raptors, 126. Jazz, 118. And the Rockets pound the Mavericks, 133-96. In college hoops, ACC, Duke were able to withstand North Carolina 74-71 despite not having Cooper Flag, as Duke nearly gave back a 19-point lead at the half as a lane violation call helped preserve the victory. They now get Louisville in the finals. They upended Clemson 76-73. In the SEC, Alabama dominated Kentucky 99-70. Florida rocked Missouri 95-81. Auburn withstood Ole Miss 62-57. Tennessee bounced Texas 83-72. In the Big 12, Houston pounded BYU 74-54. Arizona surprised Texas Tech 86-80. Big 10, Michigan thumped Purdue 86-68. Michigan State too much for Oregon 74-64. Wisconsin overpowered UCLA 86-70. Maryland disposed of Illinois 88-65. And in the Big East, St. John's ripped Marquette 79-63 and Creighton erased UConn 71-62. One other note, Iowa has fired their head coach in Fran McCaffrey after 15 seasons. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is JR from the JR Sport Brief. We're talking about the NFL all this week on the Infinity Sports Network. Check us out 24/7 on your smart speaker. Just say play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Josh in Spokane, Washington. Josh, good morning. What do you have for us, sir?
Good morning, Shep, man. I really appreciate you picking up my call. Honestly, I got to say real quick, I've listened to your show a while. You got away with words, man. This is why you're the best in the world when it comes to the radio, my man. And hopefully I can call more.
This is the Good Shepherd. 855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us, the Infinity Sports Network.
Shout out to everybody on our YouTube chat. Shout out to everybody listening, whether you're in your car, your truck, on a local affiliate on SiriusXM Channel 375 for free on our Odyssey apps. It's always a pleasure to be with you on the Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network every single Saturday and Sunday morning, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern Time. We've had some quarterback moves, and one is not like the other. One makes their team better. The other two, we'll explain. That was the best I could do. Bear with me. Let's get to Mike in Illinois. I know he's been patient on the phone lines. Mike, good morning, man. What you got for us, sir?
Good morning, Shep. It's an honor to be on your show again. Thanks, I want to touch on.
Mike. It's an honor to have you.
Well, thank you. Of course, coming from Peoria, Illinois, the world headquarters of Caterpillar Tractor, the sponsor of number 8, Tyler Reddick in NASCAR.
Yes, sir.
And anyways, Cooper Kupp. I think that the Rams did the best they could for me. They let him know up front, and I heard something earlier today that said that.
But you saw the productivity when he was healthy and durable. You know you have a short, finite window with Matthew Stafford, who is 37 years old at this point. We don't know how much football he has left in him. We know that's his best running mate. Why do this to Stafford? You were the one team that actually made a game competitive in the playoffs against the Eagles. Why part ways with the best receiver you've had in quite some time? Is he his 2021 form? No, but he's still a highly productive receiver.
Okay, I'm not. I don't want to debate you on that, but okay. I hear what you're saying. But I want to say what I heard earlier today, analytics-wise, I didn't know they had this as far as rankings, as far as ability to get open. He's dropped down to the 150th rank.
I'd like to see those official rankings because anyone can put out anything about how someone's dropped. Well, I wonder how much credibility does. I'm not doubting you. I'm doubting the information that you're reading as to how credible it is, because who I saw, Mike, in Cooper Kupp is a guy that still is a damn good wide receiver. And he happens to be best friends with Matthew Stafford. They shouldn't have parted ways, if you ask me. And Kelly Stafford, she made us think about it on Instagram. So
I do. Before I get to the Bears, I do want to say this one thing in Cooper Kupp's his character to his character. I heard them say that Cooper Kupp told a guy, I don't know if it was at the college level or early in his NFL career, he said, you know what? He said, you have so much more talent than me. It's not even funny, but I outwork you. And that's the name of the game. Guy was.
That's the name of the game.
Okay, so now we spoke a couple weeks ago, and you made it clear, and I was in 100% agreement that the Bears weren't going to go anywhere with Caleb Williams unless they did something to get an offensive line.
100%.
What do you think as far as what they've done so far, and would you draft a left tackle? Because I so badly want either Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks.
The answer is yes, Mike. You do want to get that left tackle. Obviously, you have Joe Thuney. We understand the greatness he is as a guard, and Jonah Jackson. And then you bring in Drew Dahlman, who was absolutely maybe the most sought-after free agent at the center position. Look, I'm not spilling any secrets here. We all know Caleb Williams has a lot of talent. What he didn't have in 2024, Mike, was protection. And I don't care if you're Caleb, Mahomes, Brady, Montana, anybody would not do well when you're getting sacked at season high 68 times. No one else had that but Caleb. And so part of that is being a rookie and not understanding your progressions, not getting the ball out fast enough. But a lot of that has to do with just not having a high-quality offensive line. They have absolutely closed that gap in getting what they've gotten so far. They've made three huge moves to make sure Caleb Williams is in a good spot next season. So you got to love that if you're Chicago. And you got rid of Matt Eberflus. And for that, it's going to lead to 2 or 3 more wins instantaneously. I believe you can make an argument they got the most highly sought-after assistant coach last year in Ben Johnson. And he is going to bring them to heights they haven't seen in quite some time. I still can't believe this franchise has never had a 4,000-yard passer, and guys are throwing for 5,000 like it's nothing these days.
Well, can I get one last point in,
absolutely.
Please? Okay, you may remember when I first called you, I said that next fall, if the ball bounces their way, Illinois could be next year's Indiana of this year in the college football playoffs. And I just want to say, for the record, as far as returning production, Illinois has the number 3 ranked returning production coming back. So just add that to that little prediction.
I will remember that, Mike. I'll add it to the football 2025 Rolodex. Thank you, man. I appreciate the phone call as always, man.
It is a pleasure. It's my pleasure. I go to bed early and then set my alarm just to get up to be a part of your show, man.
Thanks, Mike. Means a lot, man. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good rest of your weekend. Stay warm. We'll talk soon, okay?
Same to you.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. So Greg, we've talked about a lot on the show so far. We've obviously gotten into college basketball, March Madness. We've gotten into the NFL in terms of the quarterback carousel, and I'll get more into that in the 5 o'clock hour. But I do want to ask you this, because I know you're not short of opinions. I mean, you're gasping to speak. I mean, I'm in the middle of a sentence. You're jumping on the microphone. My God. Man,
Sorry.
I can appreciate the passion. Oh, it's okay. I listen, I'd rather have someone that is jumping out of their seat to talk than someone who's,
sure,
on the phone doing God knows what. So I can appreciate the enthusiasm. Are you enthusiastic about Seattle with Cooper Kupp? I say the Rams are making a colossal mistake by getting rid of arguably the greatest receiver in franchise history. And that's saying something, considering they had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce as part of that greatest show on turf.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as far as a landing spot, hard to find a better one for them because they just jettisoned a couple receivers recently there in Seattle. You touched on it. He's a Washington guy. He gets to stay in the division and see the Rams 2 times a year.
Yes.
I think the schedule makers are already salivating over putting a Rams-Seahawks game in a primetime slot.
I would agree with that, but I know all that. I mean that's obvious, right? You lose Metcalf, you lose Lockett. You need to have some kind of assurance at the wide receiver position. You bring in Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now you have a Super Bowl MVP in Cooper Kupp, not far removed from that, 3 years ago. If you're the Rams, how do you? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Why would you not make more of a push to keep this guy? I know he's not 2021 Cooper Kupp, but he's still a very efficient, lethal receiver, and he's your best buddy's, favorite target.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Here's the best explanation I can give you, and it's not a good one, but I think...
So it's not the best. It's not. Don't tell me it's the best and it's not a good one. They don't go in the same sentence.
Well, there are no good explanations.
Sure there are.
But you don't get it.
Why can't I get the good? Well, why does your best have to be not good? That's what I'm worth to you? Your best explanation is not a good one?
It is not a slight on you.
All right.
Okay. I'm just giving you the best thing I can think of.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. And I think that a lot of times general managers, front offices allow their egos to get the best of them. And you look at Les Snead
right.
and Sean McVay.
Are they clowning on the Jets still, or is that a thing of the past?
Yeah. I mean, We all are. But you look at that brain trust there in Southern California and how well they've done at striking gold in every round, it feels like, of the draft. I mean, look at that defense and how young it was and how it got better. Jared Verse, I believe, was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Puka Nacua, they grab out of the 5th round.
Superstar.
Something kind of just tells me that that's them saying, okay, Cooper Kupp, watch this. We'll be good without you. And sometimes that stuff works. Other times you get burned by it.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback position is so interesting because it's such a young man's game now. There's such a point of emphasis on being that dual threat. And, you got to be careful because Matthew Staffords don't grow on trees. And for him to be playing at such a high level, I mean, the dude was balling last year just to get the Rams in the playoffs.
And you talked about that game against the Eagles.
That was the most competitive game by far the Eagles faced in the playoffs.
Remember, it was in the elements for a team from L.A.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Greg. Don't cut me off again. Number to get aboard is 855. I mean, I'm joking, right? Just so you know I'm joking.
Yeah, I know you enough now to know that.
There you go. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. On the other side, we're not going to get to Greg cut me off. We're going to get to what I believe is the best decision made when it comes to the quarterback market. And Greg, guess what? The Jets have a quarterback, and they're not going to be sick of playing with him. He's actually not an egotistical, maniacal, self-absorbed human being. It's not Rodgers. It's Justin Fields. And that is going to mean a lot of wins for Gang Green. We get to that. We get to Sam Darnold. We get to Daniel Jones. Oh, my God. Yes, we are. So much more to do on The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Your love lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. You know your love keep on lifting higher, higher and higher.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Mr. Fancy Music Man. Always love that voice on the Infinity Sports Network. I like my voice too on the Infinity Sports Network, and I love you on the Infinity Sports Network, whether it's on the YouTube chat, whether it's checking us out on, Sirius XM channel 375 or getting us for free on the Odyssey app, or whether you call us at 855-212-4227. This is not just about my voice. It's not just about Greg's voice. It is also about your voice as well. We're going to get back to phone calls momentarily, but speaking of a voice, the Jets have a new one. And out of the 3 major quarterback changes in the NFL from team to team this past week, the best choice that was made was having Justin Fields sign his deal for 2 years, $40 million with Gang Green. Now, unlike his time in Pittsburgh, he's not going to be looking over his shoulder to make sure Russell Wilson doesn't take his job midseason, which is exactly what happened. But similarly to his time in Chicago, he is playing for an incompetent franchise. Hopefully that changes with new leadership. Tyrod Taylor is a serviceable backup. Justin Fields is going to have nothing to worry about in terms of his job being up in the air when Tyrod Taylor is behind him. Now, you know with Justin Fields this. He's going to win you more than 5 games. The Jets had the worst quarterback situation in the entire NFL in 2023. I mean, you had Mike White, you had Joe Statue Flacco before his great run, with Cleveland. You had Trevor Siemian, you had Zach Wilson in 2023. And you still are able to win, 8 games. You somehow regress with Aaron Rodgers and win 5. And that's with Breece Hall in the backfield. And you're throwing to Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. 5 wins for a team with that kind of talent was pathetic. And so now you have Justin Fields, who is going to not only get you more than 5 wins, but he's going to be somebody who really changes the culture of this team. And you just got the sense, and I haven't talked to any players about this, so I can't confirm this, but you're reading the tea leaves, you're seeing the body language, and you could just tell guys didn't enjoy playing for Aaron Rodgers. It seemed like this was Rodgers' squad, his handpicked guys. He ruled the roost. And you know what? It backfired. You're going to get a more humble quarterback in Fields. Guys are going to genuinely look forward to playing with this individual. And I talked about it in the last hour. You see where the trend is going in the NFL, a la Josh Allen, a la Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes to some extent, definitely Jalen Hurts. It is tailor-made for a dual quarterback. That is Justin Fields to a T. He is maybe the most talented dual quarterback we have in the NFL in terms of overall athleticism. Yes, I know Jaden Daniels plays in the NFL, as does Lamar Jackson. But Fields is special, man. His burst, his quickness, his strength, his elusiveness. I don't know if there's another quarterback like him. He gets put, into the Lions' den his first year in Chicago when we all know Andy Dalton goes down with injury. Justin Fields wasn't ready to start. He was ready to hold the clipboard and be a rookie backup. He wasn't ready to start year one, so he got thrown to the Lions' den and really never recovered in Chicago, also playing for Matt Eberflus doesn't do him any favors. Then you look at Pittsburgh, and what he was able to do in Pittsburgh was he wins 2 road games for the first time a quarterback had done that for Steelers Nation in almost a quarter century. You notice with an individual in Justin Fields with Pittsburgh, 10 total touchdowns, 1 interception, completed 2/3 of his passes, went 4-2, and the only reason he lost those 2 games was not because of him. It was because of his lackluster defense at the time, and both losses only came by 3 points each. He deserved to be the starter. You talk obviously to an individual like Arthur Smith, who was his former offensive coordinator. Arthur all but said Justin Fields should be the full-time starter. And not just the 10 total touchdowns, 5 rushing, but 300 rushing yards as well. Imagine what that number would have been had he gotten a fair shake in Pittsburgh. There is no question that people have commented on his long ball throw, specifically the accuracy. But let me tell you what he did against winning teams last year. He completed 70% of his passes and overall completed 2/3 of his passes. That's a guy at 26 years old that deserves an opportunity to be a franchise quarterback. Everybody knows when you went to Russell Wilson, it was going to look good in the middle of the season when you were playing against, low-hanging fruit with teams that were going nowhere. When Russell Wilson was going against teams that were playoff bound, he was 0-4 at the end of the year. Justin Fields would have won you at least 1 or 2 games in that instance. He's hungry. He's got a lot to prove, and they're getting him for a bargain at just $20 million per season. I'm not trying to take too many shots to Aaron Rodgers. I know enough people do that. But he is clearly on his last leg. This is absolutely the right decision, and this is absolutely an upgrade. I don't know if you can say that about the other quarterback moves that have taken place this past week. With Sam Darnold going to Seattle, I still would have preferred Geno. I know you're getting Darnold for a little cheaper, but I would have paid Geno more. Flat out. You look at the Colts situation with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones went 2-8 last year. He's never fully recovered from the ACL. He had 1 really good season, 1 great game in the playoffs 2 years ago against Minnesota. He's looked nothing like that guy ever since. Now, if this is a message to send to Anthony Richardson that he's got to get his act in gear, I get it. But I don't think Daniel Jones makes the Colts better. I know Sam Darnold doesn't make the Seahawks better. I do know Justin Fields makes the Jets significantly better, and you are going to see a beast about to be unleashed. And Chicago is going to regret it. Pittsburgh is going to regret it. And it's going to be the best thing that happened to the Jets in quite some time. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. That is 855-212-4227. If you couldn't already tell, I don't like this move for New York acquiring Justin Fields. I freaking love it. It is the quintessential win-win. And I guarantee you this. This isn't a Charles Barkley guarantee. It's a Shep guarantee. I know Charles could get LeBron. Maybe me one day. Who knows? When you talk about the Jets compared to 2024, they will have significantly more than 5 wins with Justin Fields. You heard it here first. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. What are your thoughts about the Jets acquiring JF, a guy that 2 franchises, undeservingly so, turned their backs on? Hi, Chicago and Pittsburgh. Let's get to Brendan in Chicago. Speaking of Chicago, good morning, man. What you got for us in the Windy City?
What's good, Shep? Thanks for taking my call,
Hey, Brendan,
man.
always good to hear from you, brother.
You too, man. I just want to say, man, I appreciate you taking your time out, overnights, man, through the years and stuff, giving us good sports content, man. Really appreciate you.
Hey, Brandon, it's my pleasure. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I don't take it for granted any hour I do any show, and I want to appreciate somebody like you. somebody that takes the time to call in, offers your insight, your information, your knowledge, your wisdom, someone that takes the time to make this show a part of your life. So I appreciate you, man, as much as you appreciate me, and I thank you for those kind words, brother.
No doubt, man. I just wanted to chime in on the Nuggets-Lakers. Just something with the Nuggets. I've been seeing a lot of teams have been exploiting, particularly tonight. You could see Jokic look like he was on skates tonight. I mean, every time they would take him out towards the three-pointer on isolation, he would have trouble, going back to the rim. And, I noticed OKC doing it too. It just makes the three-point easier for other teams too because they have trouble recovering. And then that just leaves a guy open, on the three-point arc. And I just think that's going to be a problem for them, for the playoffs. And then I just want to get a quick question on LeBron. My mom's birthday is coming up on the 20th, and I wanted to take her to the Lakers-Bulls game on the 27th.
I hope my mom's not hearing this because you set the bar high for sons gifting moms on their birthday. I got to tell you.
I mean, tickets for like 300 level. Last time I checked, were like 150. They might have gone down a little bit.
They ain't cheap, man. This, no disrespect. This isn't like going to a Charlotte Hornets game. It's just,
and you know what? They sell out every night, but they can't put a winning team. I mean, they have been on a 4-game winning streak. I mean, you got Herter and Collins. They were all sitting behind Wembanyama. Right. Maybe we found something there, with Trey too. But, do you think he's going to be back, by the 27th?
Who's this you're asking about? You're saying?
LeBron.
Oh, LeBron. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. Got it. I don't, it's not, so everything I'm reading, whether it's McMenamin, whether it's Amick, Shams, it's not as serious as originally thought. So it's a matter of a week or two, not a month. It's not nearly as serious as that groin injury a few years back. Remember that groin injury a few years back, which was really the most serious LeBron's ever been injured in his career, that ultimately put his season on the shelf? It's not going to be anything like that. The fact that he was not on the road trip, going through all this travel in flights, to me tells me he wants to get back in the worst way possible. And
for sure.
And look,
he's in the cryogenic chamber right now as we speak about
probably right. He's probably doing something to, keep that 40-year-old body young. And God knows no one's made it look better than LeBron James. I hope he's back in a week or two. That again, him not being on this road trip tells me that he has every intention of getting back as soon as possible, that he's not milking this, that he's not looking to, rest on his laurels. So I do hope he's back, and I hope he's back for you and your mom, man. I think that would be a wonderful experience. Just don't talk about his son, whatever you do.
For sure. I won't, man. But, from the 300 level to like 200, 100 level, isn't that big of a price difference? So
really?
Maybe.
Any game with LeBron, especially if it's in LA, most are going to be in the 4 figures, no question.
All I got to do is yell 6 rings. Maybe he'll get a triple double, and I'll put a little bit of money on him then.
Well, I hope he responds back. I didn't retire 3 times, so because he knows his history. So 6 rings would be funny. It's interesting that we talk about the importance of Steph Curry. If Steph Curry wasn't in the NBA, Kevin Durant would have 0 rings. Jason Tatum would have 2, and LeBron James would have 7. No, because he lost to Curry in 15. He lost to Curry in 15. He'd had 7. He lost to Curry in 15, 17, and 18. So he would have 7 rings.
Man, I really hope Curry can get Jimmy a ring this year, man. That would be nice to see, man.
Yeah, but you know what? When you put out such bad energy to one franchise, you don't get rewarded by another. Jimmy put some bad juju into the basketball universe and among the basketball gods, man. I don't see him. Look, he's looking really good in the honeymoon phase, Brandon. He's looking really good right now. I think they're 13-1, right? With Jimmy Butler when he plays. He's been great for them. And it's such a good fit because Jimmy doesn't have to be the guy. He didn't want to be the guy anymore. He didn't. I don't know if it was age. I don't know if it was wear and tear. I don't know if it was the responsibility factor in your mid-30s, but clearly he didn't want to be the alpha. So he asked out, and he doesn't have to be the 1 or 2 guy most nights.
You know they're going to get playoff Jimmy, and you know they just got Kuminga back. So
Kuminga, man, Brandon, how great was Kuminga in that game against the Kings?
Man, he's like a lightning rod. Seriously, man, he is Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going and going.
And he was on minute restrictions, and he was making dunks that only a handful of guys can make in the NBA.
I'm excited about the Warriors, man. I'm not going to lie.
You should be, but I'm not excited for Jimmy Butler because I hate how he's punked so many franchises only to ask out when he was talking through both sides of his mouth. But we'll see what happens. Brandon, always a pleasure, brother. Stay warm in Chicago. We'll talk soon. Enjoy your weekend, okay?
For sure. Thanks, Shep, man. That basketball IQ is off the charts, though.
Thanks, man. Takes a good basketball cue to know one, brother. Good to hear from you in Chicago. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. Let's go from one friend of the show to the next. Let's get to Alex in Miami. He knows a little bit about Jimmy Butler's antics. Alex, always good to hear from you, brother. What you got? How you doing, man?
What's up, Chap? How you doing? How's
Good,
it
man.
going?
Good, man. Yourself?
Golden State better hurry up because they're in the honeymoon phase. Just a matter
Thank
of time.
you. Thank you. That's exactly. We all know this. We all know it's only a matter of time until it becomes combustible because of Jimmy Butler, and we all know the talent. We all know how gifted he is as a basketball player.
They got two problems over there. They got Draymond and they got Jimmy. Let's see who's going to.
Well, Draymond. See, but the difference with Draymond is he's never going to see. There's different kinds of problems, right? Draymond's problems are he's too emotional. He gets too caught up in the moment and doesn't get the wise head to ultimately prevail when it should. But here's the thing you'll say about Draymond. He'll never turn his back on you. Now, he may cold clock you, but he'll never turn his back on you. He'll never quit. Jimmy, man, that guy's middle name should be I quit on franchises.
No, he just falls out of love. You know what I mean? He falls in love, then he falls out of love. That's all it is.
Yeah, but listen, I'm not an expert in love, okay? I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not married. I'm not engaged. But I will say this, Alex. Love is a choice, man. Love is a choice. You're going to feel strong and weak at any given moment in a relationship, any given moment. But you got to show up. Because love is not what you say. It's how you treat the other person. It's how you act. It's what kind of a partner you are. And just because, for whatever reason, he's not feeling like Miami wants to show him the money, you know what, Alex? Don't sabotage a franchise that's given you an opportunity to be employed for the better part of 6 years. And granted, it's been a win-win situation because we all know Jimmy is playoff Jimmy, and he has been fantastic in 2020 and 2023 when he brought them to the finals when no one gave them a shot. No one.
Yeah.
But it does say something about his character. When things get uncomfortable and they don't fall head over heels for Jimmy and want to give him a contract that's going to make him one of the higher paid players in the NBA for the future, it does tell me a lot about who he is when he responds in such a negative manner and goes all for Jimmy and not for anyone on his team. Because, Alex, he wasn't just punishing the franchise. He was punishing his guys. He was punishing Hero. He was punishing Jaime Jaquez Jr. He was punishing Bam Adebayo. You know?
Yep. He's just Jimmy's Jimmy. He's always going to be Jimmy, and he's not going to change. You know, if he's happy, he's
great.
A great basketball player. If he's not happy, he's not even going to try.
No, he's going to do one-legged shots from 15 feet out and dog it for half the game. And I'm being kind when I say half the game. And then he's gonna, have his passive-aggressive responses to reporters, and he's gonna be in Starbucks, and he's gonna make it seem like, everything's hunky-dory with him, and it's the franchise's fault. And I'd have even, Alex, I would have more respect for him if he got to Golden State, and he just flat out said, "I was coddled, I was too entitled, I was wrong. Should have been better for the fans. Should have been better for the organization." Because as far as I'm concerned, he was gonna get his jersey retired.
I don't think he's going to get his jersey retired.
Not now.
Anymore. He could have done.
Not now. But Alex, if he would have parted ways with Miami after 2025, knowing that he was incredible for Miami, got them the 2 NBA Finals. Listen, I love Zoe. I love Hardaway. He was a better player for Miami because you saw what he did in the playoffs compared to those two, and those two were the first guys to have their jerseys retired by Miami.
He was a better player, but not a better person.
Oh, agree. I mean, you're talking about Tim Hardaway Sr., who's a great guy, and then I don't know if they come any better than Zoe.
No. the Heat have had quality players throughout the years, quality people.
Yeah.
Definitely one of them is not Jimmy Butler.
I agree 1,000%. I would endorse that, italicize that, bolden that. You were 100% right.
Yep. I was going to talk a little bit about.
Oh, you mean this wasn't the phone call? You got more? No, go ahead.
John Feinstein.
Yes, sir.
I owe a lot of my basketball knowledge. I would say the base of my basketball knowledge came from him. He explained things in a way that you would understand. And there's two things synonymous with him and you. And one was that he did his job with a lot of pride. He really loved what he was doing. And the other one was that he said it like it was. He didn't, no holds barred. Whether people liked it or not, he had his opinion, and he would stick by it. And that was something with him that I remember.
Alex, they always say if you want to be liked, go work in an ice cream shop. If you want to be liked. If you want to be judged and you want to be dissected, get into the media. Because the reason he was so judged and made people feel so many type of ways is because he was that talented. And, yep. Coach K, through, I believe it was Pete Thamel, he put out there his statement, and it was, show me someone who's mediocre that's polarizing, and I'll show you someone that's never been mediocre. We're talking about one of the all-time great sports writers, and the reason this hits home for so many people here, and I started the first segment talking about college basketball, but I also wanted to honor someone that was as big as anyone I would be talking about on Saturday, and that is John Feinstein. Alex, he was a founding host here.
I know.
I've
been listening to the station that long.
Oh, so you were listening? Were you listening to me on Pharrell back in the day?
Back in the day,
yeah.
I remember when you were an executive producer.
That's right, man. Yeah, it's been a journey, but you talk about John Feinstein, man. He was critical to our success. He really was, and the sports minutes he used to do. There was no other one like it. He just hit the message home every single time. There was never a wasted breath, never a wasted second. He was such a professional. Damn, I wish I could have had him on the show more. I really do. I didn't think he'd pass at 68 years old, man. That's too young.
Yeah. It really impacted me because I thought he was older. When I heard 68, 69, I was like, oh my God, he went young, you know?
Yeah, he did, and Alex, I think he still had his fastball, and he was old school, man. He would go to the end of the earth to cover a story properly, to not leave any of the details out, to always make sure that you as a fan understood. And Alex, have you read Season on the Brink?
Yes, sir. I've read 6 of his books.
It's on. Do you have a favorite?
Actually, Season on the Brink is my favorite.
Okay. He wrote a really, really good book about the Civil War, about Army-Navy, about the Patriot League in basketball. And Alex, if you can name anyone in the Patriot League playing right now, you're a better college basketball fan than I am. I can't name you one player in the Patriot League. I can name you a coach. I can't name you a player. And just for him to care so much about something he knows is not going to be mainstream, but cared enough about it to want to make it mainstream, that was John Feinstein's legacy.
Yeah, I like reading. I like reading books, but I like reading hardcovers. I don't like reading like e-books and stuff like that. I like actually feeling the book and reading the book and holding it. I'm old school, I guess. You can call me old school if you want.
I think old school. There's no other school I'd rather be. Alex, love the phone calls as always, brother. Have a great rest of your Saturday. We'll talk soon, okay, my friend?
You do as well. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Alex. Always good to hear from you in Miami. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. There's a lot of people on hold that want to talk about Justin Fields, still want to talk about college basketball. We had an interesting conversation that obviously Greg brought up, and you talk about the success of Rick Pitino having the Johnnies in the Big East championship game for the first time in a quarter century. Does he belong on the Mount Rushmore of college basketball head coaches? By the way, before we go to break, we're going to get those calls as well. Give me your Mount Rushmore.
Wow. Okay. I will go Coach K.
Yep.
Bob Knight.
Okay.
Dean Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to put Pitino on there.
Oh, okay. So we're going to have a huge disagreement right now. Okay.
Huge.
I know you know your sports, and I know you know your basketball.
Okay, who did I leave off? Is there a glaring omission here?
You are enlightening me that you don't know the history the way you should with that Mount Rushmore list. I'm going to keep it real with you, Greg. I cannot believe you're leaving off the Wizard of Westwood. I can't believe it. I don't know. Are you?
Yeah, wouldn't. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. All right. So
Right.
it just
was
escaped
a
your mind.
brain
Okay.
freeze.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not an opinion where John Wooden is not one of the 4 best coaches.
Yeah, no.
Because he may be the finest coach in the history of North American professionals or amateur sports.
Yeah. Now, I guess the question is, do I take, because Pitino was the last guy I put on there.
Right.
So does he just go in for Pitino, or do I put him in for like Dean Smith? Or
Well, it's your
my list.
It ain't my
Yes,
Mount Rushmore.
That is true.
I can't answer for you.
No, you can't. I you know what? If I put him in for Pitino, I think that's too boring. So I am going to put Wooden in for.
So Wooden, K, Knight, and who else?
Wooden, K, Knight.
And you going Pitino over Dean Smith?
And I think I'm going Pitino over Dean Smith, yeah.
Okay, I can't put Pitino there in good conscience because Dean Smith was the ultimate grandfather of college basketball. Like
Four corners,
yes, but what he stood for, what he represented. I'm going to say this, and it's going to be controversial, and I admit it. I love the redemption in the second act of Rick Pitino. I also believe he's a slime ball. I believe he overlooked a lot of things at Louisville that he shouldn't have. And I think his character is very much in question. And I do not like the fact that he did what he did to his wife, which was very public. For that, I can't put Rick Pitino on any Mount Rushmore.
Now, I'm just curious, broader question, but
Sure.
do you look at that across the board in every sport? Like, do you knock guys for character problems?
Part of you as a coach is the impact that you have, not just on the basketball court, because we can talk about wins and losses all day. And if we do, Bob Knight has to be there, Coach K has to be there. And then you got to have, individuals like Calhoun, who has more records than who has more wins than anybody we've mentioned.
So
but
who was
Bob
yours?
Knight. Well, mine, Bob, the general, the captain, Mike Krzyzewski, John Wooden, and Dean Smith. With apologies to Jim Calhoun, apologies to Adolph Rupp, and apologies to Denny Crum, who never gets his due as the former Louisville Cardinal head coach, who had a more successful run in Louisville than Rick Pitino did. Now, if you want to talk about the most unique careers in the history of college basketball, Rick Pitino, without question, be on that Mount Rushmore. And I'm happy for his success. And he is a hell of a basketball coach. But he ain't on any Mount Rushmore, at least not what he stands for. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. What is your Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches right now? Greg has Pitino. I would have Pitino as far away from my mountain as possible. What do you think? I know people still want to weigh in on Justin Fields. Certainly want to talk March Madness. So much more to do on the Visit Good Shepherd. You can always follow me at Shep on Air. If you can't get through to our busy phone lines, you can always get us on YouTube as well. And we're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
As if they're the only caller of that night. No one has the compassion, the care, the concern, the understanding, and the intellectual horsepower. You are a literal thesaurus regarding not only sport history, basketball, football, but more importantly, life.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Don't want to waste anyone's time who have already been waiting more than patiently on the phone lines. We spoke about Justin Fields at the top of the hour. You're getting a quarterback that is somebody that has something to prove first and foremost. When he got his opportunity in Chicago, there was a gradual climb. He did win 4 of his last 6 games. Fast forward to Pittsburgh, he wins 4 of his 6 games in which he started. Only 2 losses coming, 3 points each. He deserved better. They gave it to Wilson instead, and they collapsed because of it. Bad decision by Pittsburgh, right decision by the Jets to get Justin Fields for $20 million per year. That's a bargain considering what his ceiling is. Let's get to Dustin in Chicago, who's been patient. Justin, I'm sure you want to weigh in on Justin Fields, knowing the 3 years he played for you there. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, it's interesting you say something. I'm actually not a Bears fan. I am a Patriots fan.
Can you do that in Chicago? Do you not get thrown out of the city if you root for anyone but the Bears?
Well, they didn't throw me out when we beat them in November, so...
That's fair. Okay, so wait, so you might have not been alive then, but what happened when you guys played the Patriots in the Super Bowl about 40 years ago?
We lost, of course.
Yeah.
It's okay though. Let them have it in the 80s. I mean, what can you do?
You guys have caught up since.
Clearly,
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say though, really quick, is I'm actually kind of worried about Justin Fields going to the Jets. The Jets are kind of notorious for failing their quarterbacks, but also he's kind of coming into I would say a really good defensive division. I would say the Patriots definitely just upgraded with signing Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, etc. So I kind of fear for him if they don't, if their offensive line doesn't progress with Olufashanu and whatnot from last year's draft.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, look, it's about the ancillary pieces for sure. But Dustin, the question I have for you is long-term. Do you believe Justin Fields can be successful with New York if they're patient with him and they give him the infrastructure and the foundation to succeed, something he has not had in the two previous franchises that he's played with in the NFL?
Absolutely. I do
agree.
actually believe that Justin Fields is a good quarterback, and it is a shame that he just wasn't under necessarily good coaching throughout his career so far. I do believe, other than when he got to Pittsburgh, I believe that he should have just been the full starter for Pittsburgh.
Full time. I agree.
Absolutely.
And he should still be there because Russell and Aaron are not upgrades. Like I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and he thinks Aaron Rodgers still has something left in the tank. Did he not see Rodgers win 5 games last year and limp to the finish line? Did he not see Rodgers when he was healthy, pre-ACL injury? Did he not see him, not even get the Packers into the playoffs when he was getting beat by the Lions at Lambeau Field in Week 18? Like, I don't know what this, just belief in Aaron Rodgers is these days. He's washed. He's done. He's cooked. He's done. He's got nothing left.
Well, he will tell you otherwise, but I can't agree.
Well, he wants to get paid. He wants the quarterback money of 2025. I get where he's coming from, but this is where NFL savants and general managers and people in the front offices need to look at Rodgers the last 3 years and say, guys, he's got 14 wins in the last 3 years.
Rodgers has the money over a long, successful career. He has the name. He has the prestige. Do you think he does what Russell did with Pittsburgh and takes a low contract to go play?
Interesting question.
For said maybe New York
or the Giants, right? Because the Giants are certainly on the table too, and I know this is going to drag out because this is exactly what Rodgers wants. I think that's a great question, Dustin. You're gonna learn a little bit more about Aaron Rodgers in this next deal. Clearly, he's not retiring. He loves this attention. He loves the spotlight. He loves being in everyone's conversations. He's an egomaniac, and sometimes that's a good thing. You do turn out to be one of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL, which he is. But sometimes it backfires when your talent is overshadowed by your attitude and diva-like behavior. Dustin, it was good going back and forth with you, my friend. You have a good rest of your Saturday, okay?
Yeah, have a great day, Shep.
Thanks, Dustin. You do the same, man. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. Let's get to Larry in Cleveland. Larry, good morning, man. What you got for us?
Man, long time no talk.
Larry,
Shep.
I thought this might have been you. How you been, man?
Oh, ain't bad. It's the weather, man. All of a sudden, I see it could be beautiful here next few days.
This is like the 7th spring. Are you with me on that?
Well, I hate to say it, Shep. Here on Monday, I think it's supposed to take a downturn again here in Cleveland.
Oh, no. Well, okay, so I'm sorry about that, but that's at least in the Midwest. I'm on the East Coast.
Right. I tell you, Shep, man, you definitely deserve, man, a full-time slot. I mean, you've done a hell of a job there. And
I appreciate the kind words, Larry. Whoever gets it is going to do a really good job. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing, too, Shep, about Justin. When the draft night happened, he got picked. I know his family was happy he got selected, but I could tell by his body language he was not happy going there. He was pretty miserable. And what he did, like he was running for his life there in Chicago, he got beat up pretty bad. And the Steelers, too, against the Browns, I don't want him to win, you know what I mean? But still, I'm always pulling for him. And he's with a good friend there, too, with the Jets, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, they played together at Ohio State. Great point, Larry. I mean, they played in 1920, so, that's going to be good for their chemistry. That's the guy you got to make happy in terms of your number one target, and they already have that chemistry, so that's going to bode very well for them from jump. They don't have to work too hard at that.
Hey, Shep, can I make one more thing? I'll let you go out of college real quick. You mentioned about basketball. One selfish player I like here is Donovan Mitchell here in Cleveland, and what Coach Jackson has done here too. It seems like we bring all the same kids back, which were young kids. They're still young when we have here. And with Donovan, selfless as he is, to open his game up to everybody else, so it's been a blessing in disguise. Really has.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, Larry. Hey, man, just good to hear your voice, brother. I know it's been a minute, man. You continue to be well. Seriously, okay?
All right, take care, Shep. Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. Always good to hear from you, man. Number to get aboard is 855-212-4227. We get back. We want to get to as many calls as possible. Before we do that, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Shep, the Seahawks have themselves a new weapon for their quarterback in Sam Darnold, as Cooper Kupp reportedly gets a 3-year deal at $45 million to join Seattle. 31-year-old Kupp is a Washington native, played at Eastern Washington as well. College hoops, St. John's ripped Marquette 79-63, marking their first trip to the Big East Finals in 25 years.
So many things have happened 40 years, 25 years. I'm a young guy. I wasn't born during those times. So for me, it's all new. It's all great. I'm proud of St. John's, proud of the players. Great atmosphere. There's nothing better in the world than being in the semifinal game in the Big East tournament.
That's head coach Rick Pitino, courtesy of Fox. Their opponent's going to be Creighton in the finals. They turned aside UConn 71-62. Elsewhere in the ACC, Duke withstood North Carolina 74-71, despite not having Cooper Flagg, as North Carolina nearly came back from 19 down at the half. Louisville upended Clemson 76-73. In the SEC, Alabama dominated Kentucky 99-70. Florida rocked Missouri 95-81. Auburn withstood Ole Miss 62-57, while Tennessee bounced Texas 83-72. Big 12, Houston pounded BYU 74-54, while Arizona surprised Texas Tech 86-80. And in the Big 10, Michigan thumped Purdue 86-68. Michigan State too much for Oregon 74-64. Wisconsin overpowered UCLA 86-70, and Maryland disposed of Illinois 88-65. Elsewhere, Iowa has fired their head coach and Fran McCaffrey after 15 seasons. He leaves the school as the all-time wins leader at 297. Taking a look at the NBA, where the Cavs win streak now stands at 16. They finished off the Grizzlies 133-124. Nuggets able to hold off the Lakers 131-126. That's now 4 straight losses for LA, as they did not have both LeBron James and Luka Doncic for this one. T-Wolves down the Magic 118-111. Anthony Edwards with 28. Celtics roll the Heat 103-91. Jason Tatum 28. Pacers drill the Sixers 112-100. Pascal Siakam with 27. Clippers rock the Hawks 121-98 behind 25 from James Harden. Hornets outscore the Spurs 145-134. Suns had no problems with the Kings 122-106. Devin Booker had 22 points and 13 assists. Raptors handled the Jazz 126-118, and the Rockets, they pound the Mavericks 133-96. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, sports fans, Bart Winkler here on the Infinity Sports Network. Check us out 24/7 on your smart speaker. Just say play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's get to Dale in Birmingham.
Hey, Shep. I just want to say you and JR are the best, man.
This is the Good Shepherd. 855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us, the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network, host of the Good Shepherd. You can also get in touch with us on the YouTube chat, on our Infinity Sports Network page. We're at almost 15,000 subscribers. You can get in touch with me personally at any time at Shep on Air on any social media platform. With that being said, let's get to as many calls as possible before the end of the show, and we hand it over to Carrington Harrison. Let's get to Mike in South Carolina. Always good to hear from this guy. Mike, how you doing, brother?
The Good Shepherd's in the house. How you doing, Shep?
Good. Mike, how are you, man?
Good. Now, I'm just parking my car right now.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Okay.
Parallel parking or backward reverse?
No, I'm back in. I always back into the spot. Smart. I want it to be a fireman.
Smart.
Anyway, now to get the NBA, I don't really follow them that much. I still like the Knicks, like you do.
Sure.
March Madness, nothing like it. Here's my picks, the Final Four.
Yep.
Kansas, the Gators.
Okay.
St. John's.
Wow.
And you know me, I'm a big St. John's fan, and
Yeah.
I know you got a thing with Rick Pitino. Well, whatever. I saw him play in high school. You know,
Yeah.
that's how old I am. But let's see what happens. You know, too bad North Carolina lost to Duke 3 times this year.
Yep.
That was a hell of a game. But nothing like March Madness, you know, and I'm getting ready for the baseball season. Let's go Mets.
Absolutely. And Mike, and just like, look, I'm not a fool. I know the impact of Rick Pitino as a basketball coach. What he's been able to do at 5 different programs, winning the outright regular season conference is it's inconceivable for someone to do that. And then for him to come back, do what he did at Iona, and then by year 2, have St. John's at the top of the basketball world. He's remarkable. But I don't want to get lost in the sauce when we evaluate the legacy of Rick Pitino and know he was part of one of the worst, absolute wretched legacies ever when he oversaw or didn't, care to do his due diligence and overlook what took place at Louisville. And I can't. It's tough to judge a man that did what he did to his wife. With Karen, whatever her name is, in the middle of a public bathroom. Like, I'm sorry. That's not what you do as an educator, and you're a college coach. You are still an educator, a highly paid one, and a very public figure, but you're an educator nonetheless. So I'll never be okay with that, but the man can flat out coach, and he's a genius. I will give him that.
I didn't realize that episode with his wife, but, he's lucky to get a job after what he did. Key players were getting call girls, money up the table, and this and that.
They're teenagers.
And I think John Calipari is a wannabe Rick Pitino. I can't stand Calipari.
I tell you this much: if I have to win a game for my life, I'm taking Pitino 1,000 times over John Calipari. Mike, you be well, my friend. Always good to talk to you, man.
Shep, always a pleasure, Shep.
Thanks, Mike.
Where's my drumsticks? Rim shot. That's a rim shot.
Well, the problem is we got a different producer every weekend. So Greg will have that ready next time. Thanks, Mike. Let's get to LaPre in Cleveland. LaPre, always good to have you, my friend. What you got for us, sir?
Hey, how's you doing, Shep?
How are you,
Shep,
LaPre?
I'm blind, man, and I'm 66 years old,
Yes,
man.
sir.
I got a lot of respect for you, man. You come from a different cloth. It's a guy named Earl of Pearl that comes on in the morning. I catch him at 8 o'clock.
Nice.
He's in for G. Bush. You guys remind me so much of that.
Thanks for the
I
kind
want
words,
my
LaPre.
son to be real respectful like you. But anyway, Shep, my Mount Rushmore is Bobby Knight,
Yep.
John Wooden, Dean Smith, and Mike Krzyzewski.
Yep.
I got to get these guys, man. I used
Great list.
to love John Thompson too. That was one of my favorites.
But the problem was he always lost those close NCAA title games. If he got one of those, he'd be held in a much different light, whether it was against Villanova in 84. No, excuse me, that was 85. And then obviously UNC, turning the ball over and losing to Michael Jordan and the Tar Heels. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I like Tartani with the towel in his mouth. Always
Jerry
liked him,
Tarkanian, that's
too.
right, the Shark.
He was real good. But anyway, I'm a big Ohio State fan, Shep. And I'm so happy for Justin Fields. I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers because I'm in 216 Atlanta, Cleveland. And I thought he got a raw deal. He got his receiver Garrett now, and you watch he turn this team around.
I hope he does.
He might do something that Joe Namath did. This before your time, where Joe Namath was won the Super Bowl and didn't nobody know who he was.
Right.
So
right.
This could be a Broadway Justin Fields. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, LaPre.
He's real flamboyant, and he's a great guy. And I thought he didn't get a fair deal. And Shep, our Cavaliers have won 16 in a row.
Straight, and 2 without Donovan Mitchell. What a time to be a Cleveland sports fan. And then you got Myles Garrett coming back after saying he no longer wanted to wear a Browns uniform. So what a time it is to be a Cleveland sports fan.
Shep, you'll come back for $40 million a year and be quiet too. So all I want him to do is play football because he's the best out there.
Right.
And that don't mean you're going to the Super Bowl. And another thing, Shep, man, I hope you get that slot that Amy Lawrence get. And I got something to tell you, Shep. Cleveland.
That's right.
This is for you.
That's right. Thank you, LeBron, channeling that 2016 title. LaFrey, love you, brother. Always good to hear from you, man.
All right, take care.
You too. Have a great rest of your weekend. Listen, whoever gets the job is going to do a great job. Thank you. Let's get to Xavier in Chicago. Xavier, you got about 30 seconds. Go ahead, my friend. I wanted to get to you, though.
Xavier, ready to go? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you got 20 seconds. Go ahead, Xavier.
20 seconds, man. Ryan Poles. At the end of the season, everybody was ready to laugh him off, tell him to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
This man plays chess, not checkers, man. And with the addition of Ben Johnson,
yep,
I think that we can knock some stuff out, man.
That's well said, Xavier. I appreciate it, man. Mike in Maryland, you got 10 seconds. Go ahead, man.
Hey, Shep, what was your four? William Smith, Knight, Coach K?
You got it. Who's yours?
Right on. Hey, Shep, Rupp.
Adolph Rupp, four national. I know 4 national titles, but a less competitive time. But that's
no. I'm not putting Rupp. This is what he did when they played. When CCNY upset him.
Yeah.
When the captains went out. Is it true? They said that the captain of Kentucky wouldn't shake Floyd Lane's hand.
Yep, that's a great way to end the show. Mike, appreciate the history lesson. Adolph Rupp, never ignored. Carrington Harrison, never ignored. He's coming up next. Greg Frank, thank you so much. This is The Good Shepherd. I'm out. Love you all. Talk to you in 20 hours.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.